What is going on, guys? It's the Nightwing at Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another League of Legends video here today. This is Rift Insight Season 1, Episode 21. That's actually really crazy. We just started this year for this type of show, and we're already at 21 episodes. So I am actually pretty happy with that. And now, as you guys already know, the 2020 offseason has been absolutely crazy. There's the new TSM rumors that Doublelift might not play if the Sword Art deal falls through. But, you know, what do you think, personally?
I've heard rumors that they picked up Huni purely for the, what's it called? Purely for the, for him to be on the Academy rosters. A few things that I've heard. They're not going to be playing him if Sword Art doesn't come over. Sword Art's having VC issues, but I expect that to be resolved in the coming future. I don't think that's going to be something that we're going to have to worry about too much. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to feel about Doublelift right now. As it stands, ADC is not in the best shape, but again, it looks like it's shifting dynamically towards more carry-oriented ADC. So I do think he's going to be in a better shape than he was this year, at the very least.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of decisions to make right now in the off season, because when you kind of factor in, if Sword Art doesn't come through, who would play support for them? They don't have a support in their academy team because Treats went to SK Gaming, so that's kind of how that would work. They would have to get someone completely different, or you'd have to try and scramble to find another player. I personally right now would do a little backup plan. If Sword Art doesn't potentially come through, just get another guy. But I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem.
You had to pay him if you did that. So you can't really just grab as many people as you can, because then you'd have to grab a bad player. You really just can't afford to grab all these players. I think the big thing that I think they probably tried to get Kyrie. I heard that as a rumor for a little bit, and it might not have panned out, and that might be the reason as to why they don't have an actual team right now, or at least a competent support. But at the same time, they had a competent support and Sword Art. I don't think they're gonna have a problem though. I don't think that this is going to be an overlaying problem that they're really going to have to work towards on the later.
I think they'll eventually have their whole roster. I think this is just people are just kind of freaking out for no reason. I think they'll have their whole roster. I haven't heard anybody. I'm just not super hyped on the TSM roster. I still think they'll probably be around top 4, but it's going to be a team that's going to have a lot of issues, because the problem with Doublelift is going to be the problem with playing with Sword Art. The bot lane might pop off and might be a really good bot lane. If he has Sword Art, I think it'll be a really strong bot lane. The issue here is, will Doublelift's playstyle mesh with Sword Art's? I don't think it will, personally.
I mean, again, I think with the strengths of which support is at, again, right now, as it stands, support and ADC are in a pretty weird position where they both honestly don't have the income to be able to support again, right now support doesn't have the income to get to that second item, because when you usually finish the first item, you actually don't have the income, because your support item is usually finished by then, to be able to build the second item, because the 500 gold increase, 500 to close to 1,000 gold increase from what was usually the first item you bought in support. That's one thing. ADCs right now have only one clear build path that actually makes sense. It's really kind of hindered the versatility of the picks unless you're playing Kaisa. So you really, there's a lot of things that are kind of questionable at this season. But at the same time, I think that honestly, I have no problem with Doublelift being with a support at a roaming ADC. He's done it many times. That was Aframu's playstyle. That was Core JJ's playstyle. It's been half of
the only one it didn't happen with was Olay. I mean, that's the only one it didn't happen with.
It's literally been most of his kind of ADCs he's played with have been these supportive ADCs that have been roaming on the map on him. I have no problem with him being on this team. I have no problem with Sword Art. It's whether or not, first of all, Sword Art's specific playstyle is going to translate over regions, because again, I think that it's really reliant on him being able to communicate with his team, his specific playstyle. So we'll have to see whether or not that actually is something he's able to do, first off. And second of all, I think that I'm not sure exactly what's going to go on with Huni. I'm not sure what kind of Huni we're going to be getting in this situation, because again, he's really been inconsistent this year, but he seems to start playing well when something is on the line. So maybe that's when it's going to matter. But there's going to be a lot of growing pains for this team, because there's so many different voices, there's so many different personalities, and they're all pretty abrasive in terms of just comparing to the rest of the league. There's a lot of different ways people talk to each other. people interact with their teammates on this team. And I'm not sure how that's going to translate into a team that really has no really credibly defined leader right now. Like, honestly, who would you say is the leader of this team right now? There's so many people who previously, before this, were on the leader of their team. Hooney's always been the leader of his teams. Like, Power Vivo's always the leader of his team. Doublelift's always the leader of his teams. We have Swordart, who's pretty much one of the more influential people on the teams he plays on. So, like, we're going to have a lot of people. We're going to have to get used to the idea of being the maxi player and being that person that kind of listens to calls instead of initiating them. I mean, again, there's going to be a lot of...
But that's what I was going to bring up earlier, was that Power Vivo joining also puts him in a leadership role too. Like, TSM, the brand, puts mid as their leadership role. Like, can Power Vivo be like a Bjergsen, a Reginald, like, where Reginald back in the day micromanaged everybody? Like, Bjergsen, like, I don't think he micromanaged everybody, but, like, the pedigree of being the TSM mid laner means you have to be a leader. Like, is Power of Evil really that player where he can take that leadership role? And is that going to be too much pressure where it's going to negatively impact his gameplay as well? That's the problem, too. Like, there's so many issues with the TSM roster that I don't think a lot of people are noticing. Like, you do have Doublelift, Power of Evil, Sword Art. Like, Spica's going to be like a middle-of-pack jungler. I don't think his World 2020 performance is going to translate very, very well in terms of, like, that's going to be him at his peak. He's not going to have that consistently. Then you have Hooney, and, like, Hooney is just a consistent coin flip. Like, Hooney is basically Blabber in the top lane. Like, that's kind of just what he is. Like, they have good pieces that can work if it comes together, but if it doesn't, you get a really bad team. Like, this team could be really bad, actually, because... Like, the narrative with Sword Art is he did really well at Worlds 2020, but, like, Sword Art wasn't that good at the first part of the year. Like, is Worlds 2020 the Sword Art we're going to see in the LCS, though? That's also a problem people don't bring up. Like, I get Sword Art played really well at the 2020 World Championship, but is that consistently how we're going to see Sword Art, though?
I definitely think it is. I mean, I think Sword Art, for the most part, has been playing moderately well. I think, again...
But he was playing that way through SOFM. He's not playing that way through Spica.
No. That's not true. That's 100% not true. He initiated most of the early game aggressive team fights. That was not coming from SOFM. SOFM was just somebody that participated in them and was mechanically skilled. Like, Sword Art was the initiator with a lot of these things, and I think... One of the big things that I'm actually going to say is that we don't have to have a mid lane leader. I don't care what the preemptive, what the old guard of TSM has been like. That is not really required for any roster just because the previous rosters had them. Like, that's just the reality of it. I don't know if Power Evil is going to be the roster. It's just going to be kind of weird for me to say that Power Evil is on a roster where he's not the leader because it just doesn't seem like a playstyle. He doesn't really have that playstyle that isn't like leadership-esque. But again, at the same time, Ignore was usually the facilitator for the most part. He really did initiate a lot of the stuff. So maybe that's actually what they're expecting to do with Sword Art. Sword Art's going to be the leader, and on top of that, I mean, I think one of the big problems is that we actually started talking about how Hooney's going to start speaking Korean because he can speak to Sword Art, and then we didn't realize that Sword Art was Taiwanese this whole time, and I completely forgot about that part. So
that really doesn't, like, that's even, I mean, that's like what's that word? Intangible. Like, Taiwanese, Korean doesn't, like, they can't speak to each other. That's gonna be a problem.
I didn't even think about that. Like, honestly,
it's still the same. I mean, it's still the same problem. No matter what.
The thing about it is, a lot of people are saying that he can actually speak a considerable amount of English. So honestly, it might not actually make a difference. Like, English is spoken in a lot of other languages, at the very least at a basic level. That is a good point. There may be that's just the reality of how these kind of things work. We have a lot of people who are going to be in a situation where they're going to have to take the back seat. And they've never done that in their entire career. So, like, will this translate into something that they're actually able to do? Because I'm not sure what this is going to be like. We have a situation where everybody's going to have to kind of transition from their previous roles. I mean, I don't know. I think this roster has a lot of talent, but at the same time, it seems like there wasn't a lot of thought process to put the players together themselves. Like, it could work out. Again, there's always the possibility of everybody being able to fit into their new roles, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like Reginald puts names on a plate and just like, oh, these are good players, and throws them.
Well, they had the choice. They had the choice of Licorice and Hooney, and they went with Hooney.
It's up to them. Like, honestly, like, Hooney has the international play to back. I don't know. I mean, no. I don't know why you go with. It's true though. Like, honestly, internationally, Licorice is nowhere near as successful as Hooney is, and that's just a fact. And that's just without a doubt. But that doesn't really matter. I don't like to go on accolades, and it's just almost a given fact that Licorice has been better for the majority of his career recently. Like, ever since Rekkles has came into the league, I feel like Rekkles has been the better player of the two, besides maybe the first year.
Like, people forget, like, Huni was in, like, he was on Dig. He had that $2.1 million contract that, you know, was a big talking point in the 2019 offseason. Then he got benched by going to EG Academy because they were playing Kumo. He did not look good. Like, do people just forget these things?
No.
Like, in the playoffs, and when he went to the playoffs, he was average.
Don't say average. Don't say average. That's not true. That was literally, he played extremely well.
He did better than expectations.
And you're really underselling him. He was actually one of the best performers inside of the playoffs for that given amount of time that he played. That's just how it was. Like, taking away his credentials just because it doesn't line up with the rest of them is unfair. Like, he legitimately played well in the playoffs. That's a given. Like, that's just how it is. The rest of his team underperformed drastically, so they weren't able to pull out a win right there. And a lot of people like to look in retrospect and say maybe he wasn't that good this year. But he did have his times where he did actually shine. Maybe this is going to be a situation where we see him able to come back to life because, again, he's been a lot of rosters where there hasn't been too much hope. There hasn't been a lot of talent, except for maybe his Clutch Gaming roster. But that was another situation where I think there was a whole situation of too many personalities on the same team, and they had to go with Cody-san again. I think their ceiling was lower with him, but at the same time, they had a lot more people willing to take the more passive route in the game.
But you understand why the TSM fans would be mad that they got Huni over Licorice.
I mean, I think that, again, we're gonna have to see what happens towards the later half of it. But I agree. Like, if you look at it from this season, you're like, what is going on with this decision? It doesn't make sense. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to see if it pans out. I just don't expect it to. It just doesn't.
If Sword Art and Spica could develop some good synergy, it could work out. Like, that's what I'm thinking right now, because, like, Power of Evil is really good. I think Power of Evil is one of the top mids right now going into the LCS. You have Perkz, Jensen, Power of Evil. I mean, who else is going to be really competing with those three? Like, Palafox, Demonte? I mean, maybe. I mean, but they're going to be, at worst, like, fourth best mids. You could, guys, I'm being honest here. There could be a legitimate tie between the fourth best mid between Palafox and Demonte if it pans out. But even at that peak, that's the fourth best mid lane. That's still not going to eclipse Power of Evil, Jensen, or Perkz. That's still going to be a problem there, too.
I want to point out, I feel like one of the few things that I want to say about Demonte is I've actually feel like he's never actually had a solid team around him that's really worked together properly. I still think he has a lot of talent, and I still think he can be one of the more capable mid laners out of the EU, out of NA. I still think that he's probably one of the more talented players inside of the NA in terms of just mid laners that are native. He's probably the most talented native mid laner that I've seen so far. Like, I do think that he has the capabilities to be able to do something, but again, it's not about how much talent he has. It's about, can he stack up to other people in the other regions, or even, honestly, domestic people who are imported. Can he stack up against them? And I don't know what that's going to actually amount to. That's one thing. Palafox, again, there's too many questions on the floor because he really didn't have too much competition inside of the scene. He didn't, like, mostly what I can go off of is the somewhat highlight pop-off plays and the laning stats, but laning stats don't really mean much with the competition on the floor right now. I mean, again, he has a lot of talent, and that's undeniable, but I don't know what his ceiling is yet. I want to see him on the stage against more competent players, and then I'll be able to decide whether or not I actually feel good about him.
What's up, Timon Baumgartner? I think that it could be a top team in the league. They have an incredible ceiling, just like C9 had. That doesn't mean that they will be ready.
Yeah, let me see. I think that they could be a top team in the league, but they have an incredible ceiling just like Cloud9. That doesn't mean they will reach it, but they could. I agree with that. I mean, that's something that happens a lot with teams. I mean, honestly, if we look at the clutch, like,
I brought this up in last show. I brought this up. Like, are they like, I'm not trying to say they did bad, but are they imposters though?
What does that even mean?
You know, Among Us, you have imposters. You have to find the imposter for Among Us. So, like, the Golden Guardians roster is now the 100 Thieves roster. Is that their consistent level of gameplay? Like, is that really them, or were they just overperforming? People have to consider that, because he wasn't that good when he first came out, and there was a point where him and FBI started peaking together for the LCS 2020 Summer Split playoffs, and it's like, that's really great, and I'm glad that they did it really well. Closer consistently played well, though. So Closer, I'm not worried about at all. And that's my thing, is that, like, 100 Thieves grabbed that roster based off their last split performance, but they're not understanding that is that them consistently? Because if you don't get that consistently, you just kind of are looking kind of stupid. That's just how it will work, though, you know. But there's going to be a lot of changes for season. Sorry, there's going to be a lot of changes for season 11. So I don't know. But what benefits season 11 is having a strong jungler from what I've been looking at. So Closer is one of the best junglers in the LCS, and I think that's going to be a really big benefit toward 100 Thieves now. Because, like, if you look at their junglers throughout their history of coming into the LCS back in, like, 2018, the only best jungler they've had was Meteos back in 2018. Then they had Onda, then they had Amazing, and then who else did they have? They had Meteos. So I personally think Closer is their best jungler they've ever had, and I personally think he's going to be getting this team to a higher standard than we've normally put them at. And 100 Thieves have proven they're willing to spend to try and win, so that's a really good thing.
I mean, again, we could say a lot of things about these teams, but I honestly, again, there's really no idea how Closers is going to actually perform. Again, I think that he's not competent in terms of just international competition. In comparison to that, I really don't think it translates onto that stage. So it's really going to be hard for me to say that he's going to be able to do something for this team because, again, I think when we start looking at these superstar teams, we have to look about not how they're going to do in NA, obviously, because that's just expected, and if it doesn't happen, it's an underperformance at this point. We're going to have to look at is whether or not these teams can perform on the international stage. And I'm actually a little bit worried about a few of these teams. Like, again, Cloud9 had, I mean, Team Liquid, Meteos twice. Did you say Meteos twice?
No, they had Meteos twice, remember? Meteos, Onda, and Amazing Meteos. That's them all they've ever had.
You could say Meteos came back or something. Just 7 times in the list. I think one thing I'm going to have to say is whether or not this translates onto the international stage, because we're expecting Team Liquid to make it there. We're expecting Cloud9 to make it there. We're expecting 4 to 5 teams are having a roster that's designed to be able to compete on the international stage. And EU is dead. I'm going to start watching NA. It's not. I mean, it's not completely dead. I mean, honestly, Rebecca, you can watch G2 games and you can watch the new up and coming rookies because again, there's a good development.
Or you can watch. Rebecca, if you're going to watch North America, I have a surprise.
What are you about to say? What are you doing? I have no idea what are you doing, man? Okay, well, I have no idea what's going on with that, but I think that one of the things that I'm actually thinking...
You can watch the team that Jensen will be on.
You just went through all that hassle just to put on a Team Liquid shirt?
I actually love this jersey. I actually really, really love this jersey, though. I love that they were wearing this at Worlds, and I actually got it on a discount because they had a discount code. I was like, I might as well get it. The quality, I'm not gonna lie, this is not a paid membership or sponsor for Team Liquid. This is the best quality jersey I have ever worn in my life. I'm not kidding. This actually feels amazing.
How many jerseys you been wearing in your life, man? You didn't play in those sports teams. I mean, I think
my boy Jensen's going to the top. Now, I do believe Cloud9 will be potentially #1, but Team Liquid's going to be easily either first or second too. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just understandable at this point. But I think one of the things I have to think about, EU is actually going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of up-and-coming rookies being put into the scene recently. Like, do I have a team jersey? I don't support. I just like watching like good players.
I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
Matt, why'd you do that for? I actually got him a jersey. I actually ordered one for my girlfriend, and I ordered one for him. He doesn't know what team he's getting, but he got one. So thank you, Matt, for ruining the frickin'.
You didn't have to tell me. You could have just said no. He doesn't have one, and then I.
No, it's all Matt's fault. I actually got you a team jersey. I got my girlfriend one first, obviously. You know, I was just kidding.
Is Broxy still on Team Liquid? Broxy is on
CLG.
CLG now. So, which is actually just you're not going to be watching Broxy too much at this point in time. Should I? I mean, again, I want to go back to the EU thing. I really didn't get to stress this enough. I think there's going to be there's a lot of teams actually trying to focus on developing rookies right now. So that's going to be one of the few things that you can actually look forward to. Obviously, it's not going to be really interesting because it's just going to be a blowout on G2 side. But we're going to see there's going to be a lot more talent in terms of just what we're going to be able to see coming out of it, because a lot of the old guards, like even competent players like Crownshot, didn't get really a lot. They didn't get the chance to be able to play anymore because they're like, we're not going to be competing for first, so let's just see if we have anything with this new guy. And that's something the EU is doing a lot of this year, which is something I wish NA would have done 7 years ago, but just never did. You saw the future. What does that mean?
You saw the future? I was talking about what we were just talking about earlier. So let's kind of bring it back towards what you wanted to say was EU. So I want to tackle this topic too. So is EU worse with Rekkles moving to G2, which goes into the very first thing. So as you guys already know, there's 30 people watching. Thank you all for being here. If you could please like the stream, that'd be greatly appreciated. That way it gets more recommended in YouTube's algorithm. That way more people see it. Thank you so much. Now it's time to start. So as you guys know, this year has been history.
You don't see any up-and-coming rookies?
But to be fair, with history now starting. So let's take a stock of what happened. So we had Rekkles going to G2, Perkz leaving G2, Bjergsen retired from TSM. Last year we had Sneaky leaving Cloud9. We have all these tenured players leaving their organizations. Now the only one left is like Faker on T1. He's the like lone wolf on his organization. He's been there for so long, and rookie for Invictus Gaming. But we've watched Rekkles since 2014 World Championship, where he was on Fnatic in the group with Samsung Blue, what was it, LMQ, and then I think they had that other wildcard team that no one fucking cares about. So what do you think has always been Rekkles' narrative? Do you think there's been like consistent misconceptions with Rekkles though?
What is Rekkles' narrative? It's just like he's a good ADC.
Well, the cleanup. Remember, he had the cleanup AD carry thing he went through for a little bit. Then he had that period where he was depressed, and then he became a carry. Well, he's a Kennen. Remember, he had the on-hit Kennen builds in 2017, and then after that he became the MVP. So
I don't think he's really been dictated by narratives because he's always kind of played the game how he's honestly wanted to. But one thing I'm actually like a little bit worried about is how is G2 actually going to be able to play this year on international stages, even if they have the talent, because there's no one pushing them. Because even if you have the talent, the game is decided by how the team plays the game, and there's no one that's going to compete with them anymore. There's literally no competition for them in the EU. Like they're just by far and away the best team. So like if they don't if they don't like completely 3-0 the playoffs at this point, it's going to be a disappointment. So like at this point in time, we're not looking towards that. We're going to look at, is the competition in EU good enough to make them competent or just be able to adapt to the meta well enough to be able to play on the international stage? And that's, I don't know. Like honestly, don't know how that's going to pan out. Maybe some of these players that are actually starting to come back into EU right now, like Blue and all these other few decent amount of players that are coming in, are they going to be able to make this team decent? Are they going to be able to they're going to push G2 to the limits that we're expecting them to be able to play at? Because I don't know. Like, I think that G2 genuinely doesn't have the competition to be able to be like an elite, like a completely elite team at this. G2 and are still competitive in EU2 is the G2 and Astrals. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. I don't think there's not good rosters. I just think that the level at which they are at and the level at which everybody else is at is actually just a very big discrepancy. Like we look at last year, I think that there was a few decent teams for the most part, but like it honestly, when G2 and Fnatic were playing well, there was really a solidified first and second. There wasn't really a close anything else. Mad Lions put it together for a little bit, but at the same time, there was a massive champion pool discrepancy between the players. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say anybody's the first. I don't expect a lot out of them in terms of just international play. I expect only one extreme. Like this is going to be the most competitive G2 roster internationally if it plays well. But I don't know what that's going to be.
If MSI happens in 2021, given all these COVID things, could you see that G2 roster winning MSI 2021? I could. They did it before, obviously, but you know.
I'd say Fnatic.
So let's say if they win the LEC 2021 Spring Split, could you see this roster winning the MSI 2021? I mean, or at least being second place? Could you see them at least getting to the finals?
There's a lot of factors that go into that, obviously. Do I think this team that's going to be built next year is going to be better than the damn one we saw last year? No. But do I think that this damn one's going to be up to the same standard? I don't know. Like,
well, it won't because their players are leaving. So
do I think the meta is going to shift into some way? Like I don't know. There's too many variables to take into consideration whether or not I think they're going to win MSI. I don't know. They have the talent to be able to at the very least compete, but like what does that amount to? Like what does talent amount to at this point in time? We have to see what the dynamic of the lane shift into. We have to see what the meta shifts into. I don't think G2 is that much better than 2019. You just have to remember that Perkz is a lot better than Rekkles by the end of 2019.
But this is 2020, and
I mean,
Rekkles
I think
is better than Perkz all year, though. Rekkles has been better than Perkz in the AD carry position so far.
Let's point out right now, I think the traditional ADCs Rekkles is better at. Ability-based ADCs like Xayah and Lucian, I always point this out. I think that ones that are able to translate their play into the mid lane, I think that he actually does a pretty decent. I think that Perkz probably plays those ones better. So I think it's all going to come down to whether or not this is an upgrade is going to come down to what meta, like ADCs are meta next year. if Fnatic wins LEC with this G2 roster, before I think that Rekkles was replaced, I think that Fnatic was better than last year. I think that Nemesis to Niski, it's probably an upgrade in terms of just how the team's going to play because Niski plays around the jungler more than Nemesis would.
So what do you want to? So what do you want to cover first? You want to cover? Let's cover Fnatic because that's going to be a lot of the talking points people want to come in for. This Rekkles is part of going to G2. So Fnatic's roster, pending not the 80, they're going to get upset. Let's be honest here. He's the only other good free agent they have right now is upset. Crownshot said he's not because he's taking a break this year.
Where's Patrick going?
He's still contracted with XL.
Is he still contracted?
Yeah, he's on their starting roster.
I mean,
same with
the problem is that with that, Whipple actually completely dumpstered him in that Thorn little interview. So that was like something I think kind of he burned that bridge right there. Upset is close mechanic. Like I actually agree with that. I think that just in terms, like maybe not last year specifically, because I think that last year was a outlier for him. I think that was one of his worst years recently. But at the same time, I still think Upset is extremely talented. He's like when he's playing well, he's one of the best Western ADCs like in the entire world. Like, well, Western ADCs right now. But just Nemesis did leave. I don't know where he went to though.
They haven't announced that. Yes, Mr. Busy YouTube. They have not announced that where Nemesis is going. It was rumored that he was going to be on EG, but they ended up going with Jizuke. Now that Bang is gone.
He's not the mid laner as it stands right now. At the very least, he hasn't left, but it's just without a doubt he's probably not going to. Like, there's no realistic reason to pick up Niski if you're not going to be if you're going to be keeping him.
So for the Fnatic roster, I think a lot of people are not giving them due credit. Bwipo is a pretty good top laner. Selfmade is an incredibly good jungler. Niski is an upgrade over Nemesis in a lot of different ways, and mechanically, most likely, I would say so. The AD carry position is a blank. I can't really, say what's it going to be. If Bwipo didn't burn that bridge with Upset, they'd have a pretty good ADC in Upset. Imagine losing Rekkles and getting Upset. Like, are you really that mad? Most people probably wouldn't be. And I think that, you have Hylissang. Hylissang is not a bad support. Hylissang is great. So, you have all these really good players on your roster. You still have pretty good players on your roster. I'm just being honest here. So if you get an ADC that all he has to do is just know his role in the game, you're gonna be pretty good. And can that roster compete with G2? In some ways it can. In some ways he actually can't. So you have a pretty good top laner.
They have a worse top laner.
Bwipo can go, but he can go toe-to-toe with Wunder. Selfmade can easily go toe-to-toe with Nico.
Cannot go toe-to-toe with Wunder. I don't know about that. I mean, I think the discrepancy between top is a big one. The one between mid is also a gigantic one. The ADC one is still in favor of G2. The support one is it depends on what Hylissang shows up, obviously. And then we have a better support, jungler on Fnatic. I think, honestly, and on top of the fact, the coaching staff on side of G2s is obviously better. They seem to draft better. They seem to do all these things better. If we look at the international stage, I think that Fnatic obviously had a pretty good idea how to play against top esports, but they adapted poorly. And we're going to have to see a whole new coaching staff on the Fnatic side. There's too many new things coming into the Fnatic side for me to be able to do anything at this point in time. Taking a different insight out of the Fnatic roster changes, what do you think, Mithy leaving? I think that Mithy actually did a really good job for them because they actually completely outdrafted them in the first 2 games against top esports. I think that was one of the big things, but they didn't adapt to the next part of the series when top esports started shifting the way they played the series. They didn't know how to adapt to that, and that's something that I think Mithy has to work on with more experience as a coach. I think in solo queue, Upset is really close to Rekkles, but if you have to back at the finals, the difference gets a lot bigger. I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people like to call people chokers and all that stuff, but you can 100% get past that eventually. I mean, I think that's a mentality thing. That's something you just have to work through. I think mechanically he still has the potential, so I'm not going to really get upset about that. I think that this is still probably a slight downgrade in terms of just player-wise, but do you think Upset is better than Crownshot? Yes. I mean, Crownshot is a mid-tier.
Not necessarily. I think Crownshot has always been the beneficiary of bad supports.
No, I want to point out
he's only played with Dreams and that Limit guy. That's it. He's kind of pretty much always had bad supports. I want to see Crownshot with a really good support, and I think Hylissang and Crownshot. I think will be a really good bot lane though.
No. Crownshot right now. Crownshot. Let's name off ADCs that are better than Rekkles, Hansama, Patrick, Upset, Carzzy probably. At this point in time, he's already in the bottom half. And that's just, without a doubt, you're expecting him to play at that point. So even, I can see why he didn't get a roster, honestly, because even if you keep him, even if he's competent, you might just want to try and take a chance on a rookie because he's really never going to crack that top 5, in my opinion. He's never going to get to that position. So I think that replacing him, Crownshot did replace him. But I mean, at the same time, you can also argue the fact that he's 100% not as good as the top 5 ADCs. Maybe, honestly, you can put Carzzy.
I agree with that. They have different styles. Upset is a great weak side plus mechanics, and Crownshot is great aggressive AD. Now, I think if you go with Crownshot, if they did go with Crownshot or Upset, but they can't now, obviously, because Crownshot's not going to play this year. If you had the choice of both of them, I think it's fine. You don't
I think
out there.
You do lose out, obviously. Crownshot is
you lose out if you get Crownshot. I would most 100% always go with Upset if you're Fnatic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Crownshot has always played extremely high resource hungry on a team that has honestly lacked a lot of people who have demanded resources, so it's been able to make him a little bit. Yeah, Hillsing's obviously the support. That's really still a solid support, and it's really good support. But that doesn't make up the discrepancy. We're having, like, if we bring Crownshot on, who's on a team that really had no other people demanding resources, and put him on a team where there's 1 to 2 other people who kind of need resources. Again, maybe we can switch Niski over to a less resource hungry mid laner. But I mean, honestly, I don't expect the same amount of play. Where so his Upset has been in teams where I think that he's been, well, actually, he's still been pretty decently hungry, like resource hungry, but he's not been on teams that have given him less resources than I think that Crownshot's been able to get. Fnatic is still a banger team with self-made. I mean,
I agree.
If they have self-made, they're going to be the second best team. I think that's.
I'm being honest here. Like, a lot of people are worried about Fnatic. They're still gonna be the second best team pending if Rogue or Mad Lions overtake them.
But I'm just going to say, I think that Kaiser is probably going to be one of the best supports, probably the best support in the EU next year. I really do have a lot of hope for Mad Lions. I think they have some of the most talented players. I did not say Promise You. I said
I was trolling. I was like, yeah. Oh my god.
Niski, yeah. I mean, Upset is more suits their focus since the last meta. Selfmade is the best jungler in EU. He is. I mean, that's just without a doubt. I mean, I think that Selfmade has been just unarguably the best jungler in EU this entire year. Like with the transition from with jungle XP being actually nerfed, with the catch up XP in the jungle being nerfed drastically in the beginning of the year, it actually started rewarding junglers who gank more often than not, less. It started rewarding them less because you have to be able to CS even if you get the kill in top lane. If they get if you don't get the kill, if you don't get the kills in your ganks, you actually fall behind on XP even if you got an assist to the jungler who's been farming this whole time. And that's really been completely counteractive to what I think that Jankos' playstyle is, and I think that he really didn't adapt well to that. Gadget, I'm not sure. Like, honestly, I think he played moderately well in the play-ins, but he didn't look...
I think if Gadget's not bad. I think if they could get him, I don't think it's a bad pickup at all.
He plays Mage's bot, too. I mean, I don't know.
Gadget, no, I agree. Gadget's actually pretty good, but it just depends, like, who else in EU could Fnatic really see their ADC? So you have only just Upset, Gadget's a possibility, but like, would you rather them just go with Upset or someone else, or go with a completely different AD carry like in the EU Master scene? Like, who would they really go for? What is
Rogue's top laner right now? I keep forgetting about that. Do they have a top laner? Odoamne is definitely an upgrade over Finn. Like, I think that's one big thing. I think that Odoamne was one of the better top laners inside of EU in comparison. Like, again, he wasn't like towards the top with like Alfari and Wonder and all that stuff, but he's still a solid top laner, and I think that Finn was one of the bottom ones.
Overall, Mad Lions got Armud. That's an upgrade over Arome too.
Opinions on Cloud9. I mean, we've talked about Cloud9 a massive amount. I mean, I think I'm willing to go over it constantly because I think they're an extreme...
Well, that's the second topic, so that'll be a little bit later on. That is actually the second topic.
Get over to that? Okay. I mean, we haven't really had a topic yet.
No, it's just like Rekkles joining G2. I think they're still going to be the best team in the LEC for 2021. So is Rekkles not... So let's say Fnatic pull off an upset win in like G2 in the finals of next year's LEC 2021 spring split. Do you think that's a disappointment if Rekkles loses to Fnatic in the finals of next year?
It's a very big disappointment. They built... Let's just think about this like this right now. As it stands, G2 is the all-star team of EU. It's literally G2. It's EU all-stars is what G2 is. They have some of the best players in each position right now. If they don't get first place, without a doubt, this is the most disappointing roster we've ever seen. If they don't completely have a convinced inside of the playoffs, Well, it's not funny. Being emotional about when you're competitive, I don't care about that. That's something some people do. But like, if they don't get first place, and not only get first place, but in a convincing fashion, I'm going to be disappointed in this team because they're literally Elements. Just I don't know how they didn't work out.
No. There's a reason why Elements didn't work out. Like these guys.
Well, they were all good the previous year, and then they all just sucked the next year, and it was just crazy to me. Like from Alliance to Elements, it was just crazy how much of a difference there was in play. Yeah, Rekkles. I mean, they literally should get first place. It's obviously like a disappointment if they don't, and there's going to be a replacement in the roster if they don't do it because it's going to be somebody underperforming. And honestly,
it will depend on Jankos. The jungle meta will affect either him or Selfmade. Their playstyle are completely the opposite.
That's what I'm saying. Like, again, the reason that Jankos didn't succeed in this is because it rewarded ganking junglers a lot less. That actually kind of just ignore farm because the catch-up XP was completely gutted in this season.
Do you believe in not having any pressure on Fnatic moving forward now that they've lost Rekkles? Do you think that's going to be a boost to how they're going to be better? Like with Fnatic considered being now an underdog without Rekkles, does that give them like they can overperform now to expectation because there's no pressure on them. I don't know, man. There's no pressure on them to perform.
You can't take that into account though. Like you really can't know what's going to happen. Like realistically, all I can go off of is who has the best roster. Right now it's G2. It's not really close. It's not a really close thing at this point in time. Rekkles is by far and away was probably without a doubt one of the best ADCs inside of the West. I think they have every single one of them. Their players inside of G2 is one of the best players in their position inside the West too. So like I don't expect Fnatic to even take a game off them if it's a 5-game series. Like I honestly expect them to get 3-0'd. Time for Blippo to pop off. He has to do what he did. Like he was inconsistent this year. I mean, honestly, a lot of the times I feel like he struggled a little bit. If Fnatic win without Rekkles, everybody's eyes will fall out. What is that? You mean everybody will look down at him? I mean, yeah.
But there's a what's that word? An intangible to that. Since EU still has a spring and a summer split, so let's say this is hypothetical. What if Fnatic beat G2 in the spring split of 2021 for LEC, and then what if G2 win the summer split afterwards?
I mean, I think if he loses, without a doubt, they're going to be like, well, they won with Perkz, so why couldn't they do it with you? And then they're going to say Perkz is a better ADC. Like it's just how people are going to look at it, and that's just how people on a like kind of a results-based bias kind of like opinion on this are going to look at this. They're not going to look at it as maybe something specifically happened behind the scenes or something like, or maybe like specifically the meta shifted. It's going to be Perkz is better than Rekkles and no one's going to question it. G2 is like,
is it unfair to say that they can win Worlds? Like I think the expectation for them to win Worlds is a little too much there because literally we saw G2 with the roster they had for the 2020 World Championship get knocked around by Damwon. So, like, who's to say Korea for next year won't even have an even better team? And then, like, the expectations, I think, are a little too high. Like, we haven't even seen them play one game yet to really judge how strong they're going to be, though.
I mean, all we can go off of is players on paper. We literally can't do anything besides that. Like, it won't make sense because we can't just say, well, it could possibly not work out because taking into consideration like chemistry and all that stuff is just something we just can't grasp on this end. We have to see it in action before anything. I expect this team to be good. I mean, do they have Perkz isn't a better ADC? I didn't say that. I was just saying people are going to look at it that way if G2 somehow loses the finals against Fnatic. That's just how I'm saying that. Maybe there's some leadership qualities that Perkz brought to the table. Maybe something going behind the scenes. I don't know. This is the best team by far that G2's ever produced. But I think Worlds will be poggers. I hope Faker will play next year. I expect him again. We'll go on to that. I'm sure he has a little lined up kind of thing, even though we're not really talking about a specific topic. But versus Damwon, Caps was smashed hard. It's not. I mean, honestly, if we look at the Western mid laners, they've never been able to compete with the mid laners from the other regions for the most part. It's really when you
mostly have to like roam. They mostly have to roam with their junglers to outperform. But it's not like they're outperforming in lane. They're outperforming by a different way of winning. Yeah. Like Caps has never 1v1 smashed Faker. I don't know where that came from. He has never once did that. I need some receipts if he's did this because I watched every game Caps has played. He's never once in lane just smashed those two. That's just never happened.
I mean, I think
that's all I'm saying. You know,
it's just the way it is. I think that when it comes to just actually, we look at the regions. LPL has the most players. They really know how to develop talent really fast. Korea has like one of the most talented player bases in the world with just how in comparison to small they are in China, it's really impressive how they can compete and actually just have better overall players than China with how much smaller the player base is. And then we have to look at EU, who's the fastest at adapting and it just has some of the best coaching recently out of all the regions. And then we look at NA and they just have the most money, and that's just what they're good at. Like realistically, every region shines at something specifically. So I could see G2 being able to pull it off, even if they don't have the players to be able to do something.
Oh, sorry, Zumi. That's true. I was saying Caps specifically. Caps, because people said Caps smashed. No, Caps never smashed Rookie or Faker at all. Perkz definitely smashed Faker in that MSI series, but it was just, whole team was kind of gapped at that point, banging Wolf over performing.
The essential, the cornerstone of G2, since it's become this super team, the most important piece has always been Jankos. That's literally always been the key to this team's success. No one else has really dictated it as much as he has, as much as we see the pop-ups from Caps. I think that Jankos has always been the single most important part of it. And the reason, out of context, what do you guys elo? I was Diamond 1.
That's all you need to know.
I peaked at Diamond 1. I mean, that's not like super impressive, but that's exactly where I peaked at. I think that I forgot actually where I was at this point in time.
You're on this guy. Rekkles needs resources on bot lane, and that's what Caps.
That's not what I was at. Oh yeah, I was talking about Jankos. Jankos 100% was the most important piece of G2 for like the longest portion of time, and at this point in time, we saw a situation where a meta that actually has never existed before, which is just punishing more gank-oriented junglers. We saw that actually be something that actually made Jankos actually weaker, and we're gonna have to see either they bring back because again right now you can actually get stronger a lot faster with the new jungle changes and the jungle item being actually completely diminished after the 5 shots. You get rid of the jungle item, but yeah, they have to play. Jankos has to, if he wants this team to succeed, Jankos has to be a really good team, like an extremely good jungler again. Like we're gonna have to see either a shift in like jungle items to more carry oriented. We're gonna have to see either that. We're gonna have to see a shift on catch-up XP being kind of nerfed at this point, like buffed again. Because again, with his playstyle specifically has suffered a lot recently. Is there gonna be a GAN-friendly meta? A GAN? What is a GAN-friendly?
Can other LEC teams still compete, or will LEC be boring now? It depends, honestly. I think there's other teams that can surprise. I think a lot of people are not paying attention to them. Like Mad Lions and Rogue will still be. I think Mad Lions and Rogue will be like the 3rd, 4th best teams. We still having Fnatic at 2nd place. Like I do think depending on the meta coming up, Fnatic can have the possibility of upsetting G2 in a best of 5 because we don't know how these teams draft. We don't know how these teams are being coached. We don't know how these teams are playing on stage. So there's a possibility things can happen. Like upsets happen all the time. Like nobody predicted Team Liquid would beat IG. But on paper, you'd say IG smashed them, right? It just depends. Like, I'm not going to completely write off Fnatic because they lost their star player. People said that about Fnatic before. There was a star player. They're going to suck. That's never happened. So I'm going to have to see it. It's only happened one time.
All you're saying right now is maybe they don't work out. And that's just really, who knows? I mean, like, we don't know if they're going to work out. But just given if everybody plays to their performance, their best performance, there's really no way G2 actually loses the finals. Like, I don't see that. I just, like, really... The way that Fnatic wins is they're just more kind of they're better as a team as a whole. They're able to play around the map a lot better. Yeah. Why did that get restricted? Oh, he retracted, I see.
Oh, he probably just messed up his message.
Yeah. I mean, I think that realistically, the only way that I see Fnatic being able to beat G2 is just being a better team, even if they have the worst players, because that's just all you can do. You have the better shot calling, you have the better like drafting phase. Like really, that's where they're gonna have to win out. They're gonna have to win out before the game starts. They're gonna have to win out in mindset. They're gonna have to win out in game plans, and that's just the way that Damwon did it. Damwon again did have the best players. Obviously, that's not really what made them strong though. It's like when you saw their comp, you knew before the game went in what they were gonna do. Like 90% of the games they had a Renekton, there was a gank when he turned level 6 every single time. He shoved in the wave instantaneously, and then they were able to get a gank off that was able, like, that kind of shifted the game in their like favor. You go in with a game plan, you can always win the game. It's just whether or not Fnatic can develop their own game plans, or really honestly just rip off like Damwon at this point. There's no reason not to. Damwon had a perfect idea of how to play the game. They just didn't play it to the best extent. Like honestly, Damwon was a lot better than they showed, I feel like, and I trust him to bring exactly those things to the table. I don't know, like, is Yamato a better coach than Mithy? Mithy honestly looked incredible in my opinion. I really liked Mithy. Like, I really liked Mithy this year. Wait, with this news, Blippo said that self-made playstyle doesn't fit with Fnatic. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, Blippo should not have said all this stuff online. Like, that was just childish right there. Like,
I'm gonna address this right now because I was okay. So everyone knows what he said. The issue here is you don't want to carry jungle with that. I'm gonna be honest here. Switch self-made with Xerxes this past year in the LEC 2020. They probably aren't even second place. Like. Self-made literally does. Self-made brings them that edge. Not having self-made is going to bring your team down. I'm being honest here. Like, without self-made, like, does Fnatic make worlds? I'm just being honest here. Self-made brought a lot to Fnatic. So for him to say that, Age was just a clown. Like, I'm just being honest.
Let's not call him a clown. Let's calm down. I think that he acted. Clown is just straight up just unnecessary insult. I think he acted childish. He wasn't mature in this. There's no reason to air dirty laundry here. Like, he was straight up telling everybody the inner workings of Fnatic and what was going on dramatically behind the scenes, and that was childish. Like, he really should have not done that. Like, he really shouldn't have went out of his way to do that. He was over the top cocky. Like, he was saying, I could be like the third best pick for Fnatic to be the mid laner, because that's just realistically not the case.
I'm being honest here. They were never considering him mid lane. That's what you say to people to make them happy, but it's like they were never going to consider him as a mid laner. It wasn't possible.
When people say this, they actually deleted all the VODs to this. It was with Thorn and Dom, and he said all this stuff. He was talking about how he wanted to get rid of self-made, and who else was it? It was two people. Self-made and somebody else.
So he wanted to get rid of self-made because he felt like self-made, as in his name, self-made. His playstyle is too selfish, and self-made doesn't dedicate resources to top lane so Blippo can carry.
Well, no. He wanted to play around. He wanted the games to be played around Rekkles, not him. He said, "I want the game to be played around Rekkles." A few times he has said specifically, it was Nemesis, yeah. He said specifically that the best ADC in EU for the past 2 years has been Rekkles, is what Blippo said in that situation. Blippo's coin flip, I agree with that. I mean, honestly, he's essentially, you have two coin flip players on this team in both Blippo and Hylissang, and I think that them being inconsistently bad at the same time kind of made Fnatic falter at weird times, because they usually weren't on the same page at the same time until
this is so true. The reason why Fnatic got self-made was so they could play very well with Nemesis together. They literally, Self-Made and Nemesis had anti-synergy. Self-Made made Nemesis a weak side mid laner. It was so bad. Like, I don't know. Blippo's just out of his mind. He was never going to be considered a mid laner or Fnatic. They would have gotten anybody else but him as a mid laner. Let's be honest here.
I'm just upset that he said all this stuff, and it just, honestly, I feel like just looking into that, I don't think this is the reason why he left, but it just kind of gives us an insight into the personalities behind Fnatic. And I would be like, I wouldn't want to play with somebody like Blippo, who's just overly confident and just saying all these things that just don't need to be said. Do you know what else he said? Remember how they claimed that
do you know how that they said that Blippo said that Upset was a choker, right? What is Blippo? Did this man not just lose every final to G2 as a choker?
No.
Did this person not choke against the Shy in 2018? I'm just saying. That's choking. It's like,
if you're a worse player than somebody, it's not you're trying to say something along the lines of.
But he did choke against all those finals against G2.
He was not.
I'm just saying.
Realistically, he's not the best. He's not the best top player. If you're worse than somebody and you lose to them, you're not choking.
He's a choker.
He's inconsistent.
How can he claim that Upset is a choke? No. You're missing the context. How can he claim that Upset is a choker and he's lost to the same team literally 4 splits in a row? He's a choker himself.
No, I mean, I don't know. I think that saying that he choked against Invictus Gaming was that's ridiculous. I don't know.
But the reason why I say that is because he did play well against IG in the group stage of 2018 Worlds.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, he played against Duke one of the times, to be fair, but I mean, at the same time, I think that he didn't play well against the Shy really ever. They started playing around the map against him. I mean, and then they started switching him out for SOAS. I mean, it's really hard to say that he actually outperformed because he didn't play a lot of those games. He didn't. It takes one to know one. What are you talking about?
He's talking about Blippo calling Upset a choker.
I mean, I think that, honestly, we can look at a lot of things. I think inconsistencies is one of the things. He's just, he's not that good. He wasn't as good as the Shine. That's why he wasn't able to play up to his standard. The choking is literally when you go into a game and you're better than them and then you lose to them because you underperformed. That's choking. Going into a game where somebody's better than you and losing to them is just not choking. That's just not what that is. It's not the definition of it. Yeah, but he was always punished so hard because top lane is the only lane that can be punished. I mean, it's true. Like, honestly, look at the success of Alfari in his games. Like, Alfari was the most heavy gank. I mean, like laning dominant top laner inside the entire league, and at the same time, he was also the highest first blood victim inside of the entire EU scene. He also had the highest enemy jungle proximity. He was literally any top laner that was kind of centralized around laning instead of doing anything else inside of EU was actually completely lane dominance equals 10. You can look at the CS differential. Like, I understand that there's a way to do it, but 100% the way to look at it is the fact that Alfari was without a doubt like one of the most dominant laners inside the entire league. I think that's just one of his strengths, and that's still something that's going to translate inside of Team Liquid. It's true he holds a year contracted. Another good player for G2, trust me. Easy Worlds 2022 for I don't know about that, man. Colleagues than friends. They seem to friends group seems that way when watching. I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of things I can't really take into consideration. They might be colleagues. They might be more like close for like people working together more than friends. But I don't know. I mean, I can only see the videos they post, and I don't even watch those. So I don't really care about their inner workings. Besides that, no, it didn't really show. It showed how dominant. Actually, I agree with that. I mean, to be fair, if we look at like inside of Worlds, some of the most dominant positions at Worlds were Chinese top laners. I mean, I don't want to say top lane was useless. I just think that the proper way to play the game was not centralized around top, because we saw Damwon do that. We saw most of the successful teams at Worlds not play around top for the most part. They just had strong top laners. And his toxicity and solo queue and everything about coaching thing, I don't care about his solo queue toxicity as long as he's a good coach. I just well, Perkz is going to be a mid laner, yeah, but I think that I actually, like, again, solo queue toxicity is not going to be the biggest end all be all for the most part. Like with you, oh, is he not? I didn't even know that. I actually had no idea that was the case. That's just me not being aware of that. I don't watch Fnatic stuff, so I had no idea. Like it was top again. The way top lane worked right now. If we look at Naguri and Damwon, they didn't really play around top side. They 100% when they had specific picks that played around top side, they did. If we look at what's it called? It was mostly. What actually was the dominant thing right now is it was jungle and support. Those were the two most impactful roles inside of Worlds, and that is without a doubt. Those are the two most impactful. Then I think it went like mid and top as a toss up right there, and then ADC in last. I mean, I think that it was essentially every single team that was competent inside of Worlds had a really good jungler and really good support. Fnatic Naguri, that's not. There's no reason to do that. I mean, like, honestly, I don't see a reason to do like. Import talent like that when you have such good players to be able to pick out. Like, honestly, I don't know. I mean, Naguri seems like somebody that would need a lot of communication too. I don't think that's a good pickup. But
Caps left because of problems in Fnatic until now. I thought he meant Broxa.
And that's why Fnatic was able to compete. If top lane, mid run, they're important, they wouldn't get to playoffs. I mean, I don't know about that. I think they still would have got there specifically because even if we look at like Nemesis and all them being bad, they still had the talent to be able to make playoffs. Like, there was just some genuinely not good teams inside the bottom half. Like, I would say, let me see. I mean, I'm not going to say neither one of the roles, like the solo lanes were definitely important. It's just that with how support was designed last season, support was by far and away the best. Even in solo queue was the best support like role to be able to climb with for the most part. Like, you could literally take over the game completely inside of that role. And that's why we see supports like Leona and Pyke just completely shooting up to the top of the leaderboards. Like, I think that was one of the biggest design flaws they had last season, and they've completely shifted it to where support just no longer has the money to be able to be useful now in a lot of situations. Or is he just taking over? We don't know yet. There's been rumors, but no one's been confirmed on where Nemesis is going.
Caps left because his contract ended, and G2 project made more sense. Apart from smaller inner issues.
Top 4 support is in the world. I mean, it's really hard to say that. I do think he's definitely one of the best supports inside the West by far. I think that's without a doubt. I don't know about top 4 support in the world. That's really a big toss-up for me. I don't know if I'm going to say that yet.
If we're talking about like the Fnatic move, like, I mean, to be fair, some people already knew that Caps was leaving Fnatic after the 2018 World Championship Finals anyway. But the Rekkles move, it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. Like, he's been signing 1-year contracts with Fnatic ever since like 2017. So the moves make sense though. If they don't like how certain things are in Fnatic, it makes sense as a person working for the org to want to another job. It's like you don't like how some stuff is being worked on in an org or your job, so you just go to another job where you're much more happier. And it makes sense though. Like Rekkles said it in his video, in his farewell video on Fnatic's YouTube channel. It's like, you know, he's still the same person. He's just playing for a different org. I get that you have legacy in an org. I understand that, but like he's not obligated to play with Fnatic forever. There's no rule that says he has to do that. And
it's not saying that, but you're definitely able to be like, man, like you definitely be able to look at him and be kind of upset about it. Obviously, when somebody leaves my team, like inside of like the NBA or something, I don't like them as much anymore. And that's just without a doubt. I'm not going to say, man, I hate this guy, but at the same time, it's just like he honestly either went for a better chance of winning a championship, or he went for money. And he didn't care about the team as much. And that's just realistically what it is. And that's just, like, honestly, I don't blame Rekkles at all. If there's problems with the team, there's no reason to be sitting at, like, staying on the team. Like, I have no problems with it. Rekkles was my favorite player, but he wasn't kind of double-faced. I don't know. I've never seen anything to say he's been double-faced to want to play with the best. Like, no one's blaming him at all. I'm just saying that's just a big thing. Like, it's like you don't hate on him for any of that stuff. Like, at the same time, you see why he did it, but I'm not, like... Well,
because some people say, why not? No, but, I mean, most of the sentiments are like, why did he not just stay on Fnatic and make it work? What if he don't want to? What if he just wants to leave?
I mean, that's like, Fnatic fans saying that. That's just why would they say that? Like, why would Fnatic fans realistically not want him to stay? That's understandable. Yeah. Players want to win trophies. Rekkles at Fnatic can't win anything facts. I mean, there was potential for this team. They had the best jungler in the league. They had one of the best supports in the league.
They had the
best ADC in the league. They had a solid top laner. Honestly, all they had to do was get a better mid laner, and then I think they could have competed moderately, but you'll never really get somebody as good as Caps, so maybe that's what they want. If they could have got Perkz, I would say staying on Fnatic was probably the best idea, because that would probably be the best team in EU if they had Perkz on that team. But that's just not the case. I think that they weren't able to get somebody as good as that. So, I mean, there's not really a reason for him to stay. If he wants to win, I think the best idea was definitely go to G2. I just can see why Fnatic fans aren't happy with it. Like, even if they don't go well in spring, honestly, who cares about winning LEC? It's really about if you can win. If you're looking at winning LEC, you're also looking at being the most competent team to go inside of international stages.
But I mean, winning LEC. Winning at LEC matters to the players, though. You got to factor this in. Winning LEC matters to Rekkles now because it proves that the move he did in the offseason matters. That's why it's going to obviously affect him. Like, it doesn't matter to us, really, if they win because, you know, it's going to be interchangeable if players win splits at all. But it matters to Rekkles because he made this move to show people that he can obviously win without Fnatic. That's pretty much what I was going to say about that. Let me see. I think if G2 doesn't win Spring Split, Rekkles will come back to that. Not gonna happen. That will not happen. Even if they did lose, he still wouldn't come back.
I mean, you don't actually know that. It's just unlikely. I mean, why would he do it? If he left G2, he's not gonna really come back at that point in time. But
I mean, it has to affect your state in some way when you to the finals and the mid laner leaves and smacks you 4 years in a row. I think Caps was a huge part of the Rekkles win. No, I agree. Like looking at them playing, like, did he really go and look at Nemesis and go, man, could Nemesis ever beat Caps? Even Fnatic as an org probably thought he couldn't. That's why they're getting another mid laner.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, you can always buy out contracts, but you're actually obligated to stay. You can't really choose to leave. And if you make a hassle, if you just kind of make a fuss and say, I don't want to stay here anymore, like, they're going to get rid of you. I mean, that's just how it works. You can be, if you really want to leave, you can be childish, and they're going to be like, we don't want this defecting our team's mentality, and they're going to get rid of you. But I don't think that Rekkles is going to do that, so I think he's most likely going to stay for the rest of the year. I think Rekkles will retire after G2. I mean, it really depends on how good he looks at the end of this season. We're going to see whether or not he has a few more years left in him. Caps against Niski, that's just an execution. I mean, it's the big problem is how many chances to get a Caps can you really get? Like, you honestly don't have too many chances to be able to get a Cap. Caps is such a rare quality player, such a rare amount of talent put into one player that you're really not going to get too often. If ever G2 doesn't perform, Rekkles will go back to Fnatic again for one more year before retiring.
I don't know, man. I just don't think because like you got to kind of factor in him going back is like I don't know. Like I just don't see it happening. There's too many factors where I could put in my brain where it could happen, but I just don't see it honestly.
I don't disagree. Niski is literally just somebody who plays around the jungler more often than anybody else. I agree with that. That's definitely something I could say is it's definitely something I could say is definitely an upgrade over Nemesis in terms of just the identity of the team.
This man has the same name as Perkz. Perkz' real name is Luca.
Yeah.
Matchflix left Fnatic. Matchflix left Fnatic even without one shot at the first team. Opinion. I really think they should have given Magicflix a shot. I watched the EU Master Games when like Fnatic and the big guys are playing. I think Magicflix is pretty solid. I think he should have got a shot. But they said he has nerve issues in high pressure games, so you got to consider that in. Obviously, I think he should have got a shot, honestly. But you know, I don't make the decisions, man. I really wish he could have, honestly. A lot of people were asking for Magicflix to play. What's this one? I mean, Perkz literally gave the key. I mean, Perkz literally gave the keys to the castle for the kid. Like, that just speaks volume of how good he is.
I mean, I think the big thing I have right now is, like, honestly, expecting G2 to get first. Who is realistically going to be second place? There's a lot of talent that's going to be put inside of the EU scene right now. It's Mad Lions, Rogue. Both have really talented teams that I think have the ability to be able to get up there. I'm not sure. Like, I honestly don't know what is going to be the team that's going to be able to compete with Fnatic for second place. But again, I think that it's going to be first place is really complete. Second place is going to be probably going to be Fnatic, but I mean, Rogue and Mad Lions can compete for that spot if they improve drastically by next year. Rogue is the second team for sure. I mean,
it's possible. Now with Fnatic losing Rekkles, it's possible. I mean, it's definitely possible. I'm not saying you're wrong. Because Hans Sama's a pretty good ADC, but Hans Sama is the same thing as Nemesis in terms of champion pool. Hans Sama has very limited champions he can really play to an extremely good level. Like, all he played to an extremely good level is like Lucian and Draven.
Did Perkz just leave just for Rekkles or the money? He didn't get to choose. Like, honestly, when you buy out a contract, you essentially just sell them a pre-existing contract to another team. So he never actually had choice.
The only choices of teams he had potentially were like Misfits, TSM, Vitality, Cloud9, Evil Geniuses. Yeah, that's it. Fnatic was never on the table. Carlos did not want Perkz going to Fnatic. Oh, shit. Oh, I love Carlos. Like, no, but so we should probably talk about that. So, do you really think that does Ocelot have any obligation to let Perkz go to Fnatic? Because I think people are just super entitled and said, oh, like, why didn't Ocelot let Perkz go to Fnatic? I mean, he doesn't have to.
There's realistic ways to look at it. First of all, does he think that there's going to be competition as Fnatic? Because again, I think that there's no way, even with letting them have Fnatic, they don't make Worlds at this point with this roster. I think it really didn't matter that much. But again, maybe they want to win EU. Like, it would make sense why they wouldn't give Perkz over there, because giving Perkz to G2 maybe that keeps Rekkles over to Fnatic. Maybe that keeps Rekkles over there. Maybe not giving them Perkz made it seem like the team couldn't be able to compete against them, so Rekkles had no choice but to go to G2. Like, are not going to get 4 seeds for World this year. I don't disagree with that, but I still think that G2 would have made it regardless. There's a lot of plausible reasons as to why he didn't do it, but again, it's a good way to look at it. It's like, he did it for the money. I think that's really what it was. He doesn't have an obligation to be able to put him wherever he wants, but you can at the same time look at it and realize that he did it for the money in comparison to just what Perkz was feeling. I mean, I would do it for $5 million too. I don't blame him at all, but it's still what he did. It's still what he did it for.
I just feel like a lot of the Fnatic fans think that Ocelot had to, like, they feel like an obligation that Perkz should have went to Fnatic. It's like he doesn't have to. Like, there's no rule that says he has to do that. And why would you give Perkz to your best competition? That is stupid. That is actually dumb. If you do that,
optimistic. I mean, that is literally purely optimism at this point. You're definitely optimistic. I don't think that it wasn't a player discrepancy that kept them from Damwon or any of that stuff. It wasn't really that. I mean, obviously the mid lane was a big discrepancy. But at the same time, it would like I mean, honestly, Perkz did mess up a few times, over diving in a few of the bot lane fights. He actually got himself killed and all that stuff. Perkz has 3 times the trophies as the team he's joining. I mean, that doesn't really put anything in terms of play. That's just like something you look back when you're giving somebody a Hall of Fame ballot. It's like, cool, but that doesn't. I don't really care about that much. G2 would stomp EU most likely harder than you. I mean, it's not true. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, I think that Unicorns of Love literally didn't have any competition at all. There was literally no good players besides the Unicorns of Love. Whereas so is G2, even though they have really good talented players, some of these they could either underperform, and a lot of these teams could take advantage of it because they're definitely competent. I mean, I don't think they'll stomp as hard as Unicorns of Love did, but they definitely have the ability to. Legally stop. He literally can. I mean, that's just how contracts work. You can literally not. You can't go to a different team. Like if he sells your contract to somebody, you're now a part of that team.
But there's a reason why he did this. Because people don't really understand. Like it happened preemptively. Remember, G2 had already signed their roster that they had in 2020 all the way to 2022. So like these are plausible deniability things you already put in. You know.
That's the only. It was only Perkz' choice where to go. I mean, it seems like that, but it specifically seems on Twitter that Perkz has really made an effort not to really defend Ocelot, more so as saying, we're never going to tell you what's going behind the scenes. It's not black and white. It's just, I don't know if Carlos is 1,000 IQ. Like, what did he do that was
no,
really...
but him locking up the roster means that he gets to decide where they get to go. Or
no, I'm not. No one's saying that he didn't have the right to, because he obviously was allowed to. But that doesn't make it any less for the money. Doesn't make it. I don't blame him for it. I'm not upset with him.
But by default, it's going to be about money because you're talking buyouts in general. Well, the issue here. So Jack explained in an interview with Thorin that Perkz was skeptical about coming because of NA issues like solo queue, ping. There's so many other things, right? So Perkz could have just stayed and went on EU, and still played in EU. Though I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, if Perkz went and asked, "Hey, Ocelot, I want to play for Fnatic," they're good enough friends to the point where I'm pretty sure Ocelot will let him go. But let's be honest here. What if Perkz didn't even want to go to Fnatic? No one even asked that. What if Perkz didn't want to go to Fnatic? What if that wasn't an option?
You're saying all these things. I'm just saying we don't know. We don't know anything. You're just giving hypotheticals, but it seems like he's upset with Ocelot. And that's just what he literally said. It's not black and white, and you guys can't see what's going on behind the scenes. It's just, we're not going to be able to say anything. We're not going to be able to delve into that. Also, don't you guys do in-house in the off-season? Solo queue shouldn't be an issue.
They were talking about that earlier today with Jack and Thorin. They're working on fixing that right now about having in-houses for scrims and, ping being low. Just not necessarily the best. I mean, that's gonna be a really good thing for North America. But I want to say this: thank you guys for 600 subscribers. Not trying to go down the history road here, but thank you for 600 subscribers. It means a lot. Can't wait to hit 1,000. As you guys know, I love League of Legends. I've been watching for literally 6 years. So it's definitely going to be a plethora of knowledge up here. But thank you guys. I just want to say thank you so much for 600 subscribers. Could I not have done it without you. But back to the point of Rekkles. So to kind of wrap up the Rekkles point, I think him going to G2 is a really good thing. I think if G2 didn't get Rekkles, they were going to probably pick Upset. They were going to pick either any other good ADC. Like, they had to pick a litter. Like, any ADC in the LEC right now would kill for a chance to play on G2. So that's just kind of how I see it. What's your last thing about Rekkles joining G2?
I mean, again, it seems like they really want to talk about that, but I'll talk about, first of all, I think this is by far and away going to make them the best team. There's really nothing I can say besides that. Again, there's really all these things, so many variables that can work out into whether or not this team works out. So I'm not going to say much about anything before I start seeing actual play on the table. Crown Shot, I'm not talking about that. I don't know. I mean, I think that Crown Shot genuinely, again, if we look at the top 5 teams in ADC, he's just a mid-tier ADC in EU. Even though I think he's really a good ADC in general, he's still like a 6th place ADC in terms of just his abilities. Even because he's worked. I've been watching from XPK versus Ocelot, Alex X days, such nostalgia. I mean, there's a lot of good.
We came in when XPK solo killed what was his name, Dade. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Bugs, yeah. I mean, one thing I want to say is are we swapping over to the Team Liquid thing?
Yeah. So go to North America.
Let's talk about because again, a lot of people are pretty much talking about Team Liquid right now. I think one big thing about it, if you look at Alfaria right now, he's one of the most exceptionally gifted top laners inside of the entire league. I agree with that. I think that's one of Crown Shot's biggest problems is champion pool. But that's not something that's not really a difference between most of the ADCs. If we shift to a mage meta, I don't know how good Upset's going to do. I mean, I don't know what the meta is going to look like because crit ADCs are still garbage right now. I don't know. I really can't give you anything on.
For Malik, wasn't Melissa their mid laner?
I mean, I can't give you too much insight to that. I don't really know enough about him. That's just something I don't know about every single. I know about most players that have been in the scene for a while, but again, Malika has just not had enough time, in my opinion, to be able to.
I thought he was. I thought it was pretty decent overall. I don't think I've seen anything bad at him. But you're playing on Vitality. You're playing on a shit show of a team. I don't know, man. They have comp. Comp is.
Jensen and Perkz. Man. I think Perkz, if we're looking at Prime, Perkz is going to look better. But I think that is one of the big things I have right now. We're going to have to see a team with right now with Team Liquid is going to shift to something that I say was more oriented towards bot side is going to have to shift towards the side lanes instead of mid lane. And we're going to have a team that has Alphari, who is dominant inside of laning phase, but requires a lot of jungle assistance because he pushes up so far. He gets ganked a massive amount of times. Like, that's one of his biggest problems, is the fact that he's the highest first blood victim inside of the entire EU scene. I think with this right now, it shifts them to a more proactive early game jungler, because a proactive early game kind of comp, because now they have the ability to play 1-3-1s, which come online faster than tanks do, or weak side top laners are able to. So they're going to be able to play inside of, like, right when they get 1 to 2 items, they can shift Alphari to the side lanes. That'll come on a lot faster. Or they can play traditional tanks and all that stuff and still be able to team fight. It just gives them more versatility in the picks. But at this point in time, one big question I have, whether or not Team Liquid's going to work out, is the fact that where's Santorin actually going to have to play around right now? Like, we're going to have a team that's kind of reliant. He has to gank Alphari. Alphari is just going to feed. Alphari's literally going to feed if he doesn't gank him. And then we have Tactical and Core JJ, who literally are the core pieces of your team that you honestly have to play around. So I feel like Jensen's going to have to play the back seat at this point in time. Like, I think he's going to have to take the back seat, and he's just going to see whether or not he can adapt to that, because there's just so many situations where we see, like, we've seen, like, players not able to shift their like play style towards a different one where they're kind of required to for a new team. Like, they're not going to have, like, that's the thing. Can he play third wheel to this team? Because I think that he's one of the players that's going to have to need to. It's going to be him or Tactical, and I'm not sure if Tactical is going to be able to. Like, I think we're going to have to see a thing where he's going to get the least jungle attention out of all the lanes, because I think it's required for the other two. And whether or not Jensen can do that, because he's never done that in his career, been able to be the third string on a team. Is he going to be able to be the third string and towards the jungle attention out of the entire team? I don't know. I just am a little bit. He was on somewhat of an island, but again, he still got a massive amount of resources, and that's not something you to be gifted.
In the spring 2020,
it's not about jungle attention.
He was on his own for a little bit there.
It's not about jungle attention. It's about resources that can't be devoted to him anymore. Because again, top lane.
But you want that in Jensen, though. He can play by himself without resources, though.
I've never seen him play without resources. He's never had to deal.
If you're gonna bank on a player to do that,
why would you bank on somebody who's never done that? Why would you bank on Jensen?
Like, you're acting like Santorin can't spread resources everywhere.
You can't. You literally don't have enough resources on the map to be able to do that. That's why I'm saying that.
Resources and Tactical can generate resources on their own, though.
So you're saying there's not going to be some sort of, when we shift into the later half of the game and we're only going to the side lanes every once in a while.
If I'm going just off playstyle, Santorin's historically,
if he goes mid lane,
he goes mid.
They're going to feed, because you have the most resource hungry and most gank heavy top laner inside of the top side. He's not going to shift his playstyle. He's always played like that. You're going to say
Santorin's always played towards his mid laner. That's
you have to shift his playstyle. I don't care. It doesn't work for this team. It literally doesn't make sense to go gank mid when you have Alphari and Core JJ in the side lanes. Literally, the least important role on this team now is mid lane. Like, I think another problem is that Rebecca left without giving snap. That is obviously definitely a problem. I think one of the most optimal places to pick up ladies is inside of a lead podcast, because that's just where they all hang around waiting for.
I mean, let's be honest here. The girls are coming for me. Come on, guys. Let's be honest here.
Okay, so Rock said Jensen had no synergy. I don't know. I mean, that's true.
That's definitely true. But the issue here is that Santorin's biggest upsides is playing towards his mid laner. Santorin always has good synergy with his mid laner. So with that, I just think that if you look at
Alphari around mid lane,
Alphari can play on an island on his own.
Play around an island. That's the reason they started losing, is because he started dying.
But you're looking at, I know you're looking at stats though.
I'm
not indicative over everything.
It's not. I'm just saying that is an idea. It gives you an idea of what the game actually kind of translated into, and why they weren't actually able to play so well. Because they shifted their play style against this team, and they actually went from a competent team to targeting topside and becoming worthless. That is just, you literally can't shift Alphari into weak side top lane, or you don't. There's no reason to pick him over Impact. Like, literally, he's not good at it. He's never played it. He's never been a weak side top laner. You picked up Alphari for a reason. If you think that he shouldn't play around top side at all, that you literally don't, like, I don't even understand how you could get the concept to play around it.
Core JJ and Tactical are a good bot lane in it of itself. They can generate resources.
It's not about generating resources.
You're also factoring in Core JJ. If he's on Rakan, he can also roam. Core JJ's roaming every single champion possible.
You have to play around bot side to be able to allow him to roam. That's just how it works. You cannot play around mid lane and expect Core JJ to just be able to do his own stuff now, because if he's not able to shove in, he's not able to roam. You can't have a frozen wave on your ADC, or he's not able to do anything. One thing I want to say though, it's already asked, but guesses on TSM roster and the event. I don't think there's going to be a situation where Soda doesn't pan out. I mean, I think VC issues are something that can actually be fixed, so I'm not really worried about it too much. Like, I'm not too upset about it. But Alfari also plays without resources. No, Alfari was literally the highest. He had the highest CS differential out of all the top laners in the league, and that's just from laning, obviously. Maybe he's going to shift towards that, but he plays carry top laners.
But he only did that in Aatrox, though. He played carry. Champions in Aatrox, though.
He played a massive.
I know. He played Aatrox, Mord. Orin is now considered.
He really played almost no tanks. Like if you look at the top 5 champions, they're almost all that he played in spring and summer. They were all.
No, you're right. He played GP2. No, you're right, Tim. He played GP2.
I never liked Alfari as his one-sided play. That's just what it is. They picked Alfari up, and he only has one play style. I don't expect them to be like, okay, Alfari, we picked you up with knowing you only play one playstyle, but now we want you to play a completely different playstyle than you ever played.
Team Liquid is looking at, they want a licorice level player like Cloud9 have. Why would you pick up Alfari then if he's not going to be that way?
Licorice is like he can play either way. I mean, I think
like did they want a licorice level player in terms of like they want to carry top laner though?
That's literally what Alfari is.
They only had what Impact and.
I'm just saying, Alfari is like, if you're going to pick up a carry top laner in the West, first of all, I'd pick up Alfari. Alfari is probably the best singular carry top laner inside the entire Western scene. That's just his best quality. Whether or not he can shift into being able to play as a weak side, I don't think so. I've never seen it, so I don't expect it. But Alfari also plays without research. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's ever done that. He most likely picks GT to counter Shen over Wonder. I think just purely in a carry, as Wonder's a better top laner overall. But as a carry specifically, Wonder's never really, like recently, Wonder's not really been playing the strong side top laner. They've really played it around the bottom side of the half. But I think that just, like, honestly, just purely on what Alfari does, that's all he's good at is carrying. So, I mean, it's not, even if he's better at carrying, that doesn't mean he's a better top laner than Wonder. Wonder is just able to play so many different ways. He has such a bigger champion pool that I would say
Oh my God, Rebecca. Whipple Zach play was amazing.
Fruitcake instead of bananas use chocolate. With WTF, bro? Whippo is the best carry top laner. Alfari isn't carry, he always wins lane, but he struggles the impact. That's because literally the rest of the map is always losing. Do you like that entirety of that map? 100%, like the entirety of what's it called? His team. Give me the name of it again.
Wait, which team he had? Xerxes, Nuke Duck, Upset, and
yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, Origin. I was talking about Origin, the name of the team. It didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying, realistically, the team we shifted. They tried to shift Nuke Duck into a team that, like, a player that actually played around weak side, completely fell apart. So they shifted back into carry on to top mid laners for him. They could not play around bot side for the most part because obviously that just wasn't how you played the game anymore. There was no carry oriented ADCs. Like, oh, look at you, Milos. You're catching. You related.
Milo, you're getting there. You're getting there, dude. I believe in you. But like, I think you're making it like they have to play one way. But I'm trying to get you to look at Santorin is not doing it himself. How's that gonna work though?
I mean, I think that it's easier to shift where you gank as a top laner than it is to shift like your specific playstyle as a top laner, because there's just so many more variables that go into a top lane, just being able to play weak side and being able to affect the map properly. Where so a Santorin can literally just kind of shift. Well, like obviously it's still a big impact, obviously, but it's still.
I actually really disagree on Alfari. Xerxes ganked Alfari like 2 times the whole year. I didn't really see Xerxes gank him that much though.
No, that's literally why they started losing. If you saw this, like if you literally look at Alfari, Alfari died. He was like 10% above everybody else in first blood victims. And that was literally how the rest of the teams, they saw how often they started losing like the top lane. So they started shifting like the fights towards the top side. And that's why like Origin never actually worked out, is because they never actually played around the strengths of their players. They still tried to put Nuke Tuck on carries. They still tried to play around bot lane, even though the meta didn't like make sense like that when they stopped ganking him. I mean, it's just, honestly, I don't get it. I mean, I don't see a world where you draft Alfari if you think you want him to play weak side, because there's so many better at weak side top laners. But I don't want to keep saying that. I mean, that's just my opinion on that specifically. He got no resources right. I don't know. Like he had, again, it's mostly about self-generated resource towards the 15-minute mark. Then they lost in 20 minutes. Like that's just how it works. Like they didn't have resources to give because they fell apart around the rest of the map by then. Like there was literally 10 extra minutes past the game at that point in time. Like, but top lane was always winning, and that doesn't make sense. It was purely a laning discrepancy. Like that's just how it works. Like that's just how the laning actually went in their favor. He generated his own resources, then he got ganked by the enemy jungler, started falling behind, and they never actually re-ganked him to be able to put him back ahead. And then they tried to play around the mid side instead of top side, even though Nuke Duck didn't look good. And that kind of just spiraled the game out of control. That's why they didn't succeed. It's not because of he's able to play weak side. It's because he's not able to play weak side, and they tried to make him. That's my opinion on it.
And I don't know. Nuke Duck, that's also a problem, like in and of itself, because Origin had a lot of other problems. Rebecca says, is it confirmed that Bwitbo will stay on Fnatic after the recent drama? No, he already confirmed it yesterday, pretty much. He's staying. I mean,
yeah, Bwitbo, Hylissang,
but remember, Fnatic, we're going after Alphari too, so that's also a thing as well. For Team Liquid, I don't know. Like, I still think they'll be like either first or second place. The issue here with Team Liquid is, like, Tactical is pretty good. Core JJ is really good. Jensen's also pretty good. Like, if you're putting Jensen on, like, a weak side mid lane, I think it's fine. Jensen will play fine by himself. But
I don't want to say that.
If you're trying to transition Santorin into being someone that doesn't play around mid lane, that's going to be pretty hard.
You think that? What do you think they should? You think they should just leave Alphari? You think they should make Alphari a weak side top laner?
No. Because I would say consistently give Alphari the strong side champion. If he's
that's not all how it works. Like, obviously, it's still
but
like, because again, with Rift Herald being there, there's going to be a lot of jungle attention toward top side, because that just makes the map essentially more like important. He never played weak side either. That's what I said. I said Jensen's never played weak side. He's just expecting Jensen to be able to do it, when in reality we've never seen him do it. Like, there's not really anything you could say to confirm that. Jensen's been playing Dolo and Xmithy and Broxa. Solo queue with Xmithy and Broxa. I mean, they're friends. Like, honestly, all of them liked each other. It's obviously a business at the end of the day, and they had to get rid of Broxa, but he's still a really nice guy. Like, Tactical played Twitch, LOL. You can't play Twitch weak side. Twitch is, like, literally always going to be weak side.
That was a problem. They gave away Rakan in, like, the first rotation, and they took Twitch. That was just bad drafting on TL's part. That was, like, they just completely fucked themselves over in the draft phase with Team Liquid in that part.
We box. I don't see a way, because, again, they're required to let, like, Core JJ take over the game, and I just don't see a world where you can let the support take over when you don't give them some sort of, like, attention. I think Alphari is such a quality player that he would be able to play without ganks. I mean, we'll see. I don't know if I really 100% agree with that, but we're going to have to see whether or not that's true. I think he's just so good at laning that it might not make a difference. He might be able to generate so much pressure that they're able to do stuff around the map. No, it's really not a problem. I love Alphari. I mean,
everyone here, if you're watching, you can ask as many questions as you want. I'm on vacation. I mean, ask all the questions you want. The next thing is, and as you guys want to go over Cloud9. So, the next topic is, can Perkz bring Cloud9 to the top of the LCS in 2021?
I mean, I think that's without a doubt that it can. Whether or not he will is just a big question.
But that's the issue. So what are the biggest question marks for Cloud9 for you?
First of all, I think that I don't really have too much of a question whether or not he'll be able to play around Blabber, because, again, I think that if Niski's able to do it, I think that we're not going to really have too much of a problem with Sven being able to rein Blabber in. I don't really have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with, first of all, is whether or not Fudge's play from the academy scene is able to translate against substantially better. Like, there's no good quality top laners inside the academy scene. You have Dokla and all that stuff inside the TSM academy and all that stuff. Will his play be able to, like, translate into the scene, like into the higher ranking scene? I don't know about that. He will 1,000%. I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, I've also seen it really confirmed on a lot of people. I just like this.
Perkz is a really good leader. Perkz always gets the most out of his teams throughout all the years we've seen him play. I think that Perkz isn't the question mark a lot of people are expecting to be bad. The question mark for me is more or less so. I actually think Fudge will do pretty well, despite what a lot of people think out of him. I personally think Blabber is a question mark, because Blabber has been shown to be really meta dependent, and it really depends, like, what Blabber are you going to get. You've never really had a consistent play at a Blabber that's been, like, only this recent past spring 2020. So I think the biggest question mark for Cloud9 is going to be Blabber. I personally think Fudge will do pretty well.
There's really no reason to think that, like, you could base it off a few things. I mean, not to be a coin flip player, he literally forces his team to be able to play around him. But I think that, again, that's why I think that with an actual leader inside of Sven, I think that there's actually going to be able to.
But yes, what's up, guys? I think will be very competitive between Cloud9 and TL. Yes, I do think Cloud9 and TL will be the best teams for the LCS so far, but I just personally think I don't know. Like, it really does depend. It's just like, because I do think Perkz will play really well. I think that Sven and Vulcan are a really good bot lane. People just forgot. Like, they are pretty good, in my opinion. And the other issue goes into Fudge. Like, if Fudge can be what they claimed Licorice was, that's going to be good for them. That's honestly really great. But there's
there's no indication of that. We're literally just going off hypotheticals of, like, I've heard all these people come in here and say Fudge is going to be the single best top laner inside of the EU, like, best Western top laner of all time. And, like, honestly, there's just so many variables. It's not that there's no way. It's just like, how can you know that with such little amount of time seeing them on the competitive stage? Like, obviously, you can see the talent and all that stuff, but you can't really see anything besides that right now. There's just not enough competition to be
Milo, you get it. Milo, like, you're speaking the real questions here.
Just think of once when Niski played around. Like, that's the whole thing, is like when he's on care, like when the team plays around him, he plays fine. I think that's always been my biggest problem with Blabber, is the fact that he's just kind of one-dimensional in his play styles. But again, I think when somebody's able to rein him in, which I think is going to be something that Sven's going to be able to do, I think it's going to be fine. Lakers said Fudge was harder to lane against than most other people in the LCS. He used to lane, but that's a little bit different. I mean, that's something you like. I don't really want to take words up against that, because I think we saw in 2018, we saw like a lot of people saying that Griffin and Damwon were by far and away the hardest people to scrim. And again, even though it actually was apparent because of that talent, it didn't translate onto the stage, and we don't know if that's going to translate onto the stage also. I mean, I think Fudge is going to be fine. I think it's probably going to be that, but I don't like to take non-stage like performances into into those like comparisons. But Blabber never had a mid laner like Perkz. I mean, yeah, it's true. Like, that's one of the big things, is that
that's a big
Blabber
thing, actually.
Never had leadership to be able to like kind of transform him into being a competent jungler. Like, I think that one of the strong points of us, what is it called? G2 has always been Perkz and Jankos being able to, like, just the synergy throughout the rest of like the entirety of the team, be able to play around being able to play around Jankos. Like, every single person in G2 could play around Jankos. And I think that with somebody as knowledgeable as playing a role specifically designed to be able to play around like the jungle, I think he's going to be able to bring some of that towards like some of that play style into Team Liquid.
Rebecca, you are such a troll.
Is TSM a top team next year after their winning performance at Worlds? I mean, I think that one of the big things about it is we look like Blabber. I mean, we look at Broken Blade went from TSM 06 to then he went to Schalke 04, so he's really got an upgrade right there. But we also have TSM as a whole, like actually looking like they shifted from one talented roster to the next, playing around the laners. He sacrificed a lot. That's what I said. I mean, I think that everybody was able to play through. Like, again, it's not just the fact is the reason he got set behind so far in this season is because when he plays purely for ganking, like with the catch-up XP being nerfed, his playstyle specifically of purely ganking and focusing more on ganking more than farming for his own strength was what actually made him a weaker jungler this year, because he didn't adapt to that. I agree with that 100%. I'm just saying that all the players actually were able to they 100% shifted their playstyle to whatever Jankos was doing around the map. And I think that they were able to communicate a lot pretty decently, and I think that Perkz can take some of that into Cloud9 and be able to
someone brought up Jizuke earlier. The issue with Jizuke is Blabber for mid laners. That's like you can't. I don't know. Like that. Perkz has been a pretty consistent mid laner throughout his career. He's arguably been top 3, sometimes best mid laner for Europe. It just depends. Like, what's the meta going to be for mid laners in Season 11? We really don't know. I mean, it could be assassins. It could be mages still. Some people say that top laners are weak. I've heard some people say top laners are still very strong. So that's kind of how I see it. Now, as a Cloud9 fan myself, I love Cloud9, but I got to be also realistic here. Like, all these hypothetical narratives people make up around Perkz, which are, let's be honest, are pretty true. How will they translate, though? Because, like, there can be, like, things where, like, Blabber does something that maybe Perkz doesn't like, and maybe if Perkz doesn't get it through to Blabber that, you know, you can't really be doing that, there's going to be maybe dynamic issues. And you also have to factor in Vulcan. Like, G2's also been really good with Mickey X doing a lot of roam. So, like, maybe he'll prefer Vulcan does a lot of roaming toward mid lane. And maybe they have to put all their resources into Perkz, and maybe it's going to take away from Sven playing really well or Fudge playing really well. Like, these are things that people have to bring up that I don't feel like are always being brought up in general.
You can't really bring it up, though. You can bring up hypotheticals, but, like, again, you can't take those into consideration because we can't know. You literally can't discuss something that is just, like, an intangible kind of thing. You can't just, you can say maybe it doesn't work out. Like, we don't, like, again, there's really nothing we can do besides saying if it doesn't work out, then this happens. But, like, for the most part, there's not much we could say. It's always going to be interesting to see how quickly each team translates new item meta. My big thing about it, again, I'm going to go along with the ADC is still trash. I think that's one of the biggest problems right now is the fact that they really only have one competent build path right now. I think that anybody who's not able to build on hit is 100% not able to like kind of translate their play into like a really competent playstyle right now. On hit is the only like kind of a optimal build path for an ADC right now, and anybody who's not really able to build it is really not that like good in my opinion from what I've seen at least. I think one big thing they're gonna have to do, first of all, they nerfed two things at once for crit ADCs, which was the ADC ratios. They nerfed a lot of the AD ratio, not ADC. The AD ratios we saw. The Cog was incredible. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They nerfed 5% on each item, so instead of having to build 4 items to get 100% crit, you now have to build 5. So that really kind of forces you into, if you're building crit, you kind of have to build this 5th crit item to be able to get the optimal amount of DPS, and it just like kind of inhibits a lot of versatility in place on build paths. Another thing we see is essentially all of the items that have AD and the crit items are reduced. We had the what's it called? Essence Reaver having less than 30 like AD. And like honestly, it just wasn't. It was a substantially worse item. Like honestly, I feel like most people could take advantage of like Lichbane as an ADC more than they could take advantage of Essence Reaver at this point, because it just had such terrible like stats on it. Like all of the crit items right now are in terrible shape. I think first of all they need to increase the crit percentage to either 5% or give better AD ratios. It's a good start, but it's a drastic shift in gold efficiency between last year and this year. Like all of the items like had such a better like either crit percent chance. Again, you only had to build 4 crit like percentage. Like obviously crit is more like variable. There's a lot more crit items out there, so it's really not hard to come by crit. But again, if you see like a Bork game like you want to build, it would be really hard to build it because at that point in time you can only get 80% crit if you build it. You can't get 100% anymore. It doesn't come with crit. Like I think come split, the items will be so different now. The ADC, all they can build be irrelevant. So many nerfs are yet to happen. Bot lane is doomed. No. One big problem with bot lane I have right now is, first of all, support items are so expensive. There's like 1,000 gold increase to like approximately around there to their first item, which means by the time you finish your first item now, you no longer have the support item to generate gold, which means you can't like either hit people or any of that stuff. So you no longer have the gold income. You're literally only either getting passive income from just generating by existing, or you're getting kills or assists. Support literally doesn't have the golden income to make it to 2 items sometimes. I see these supports be like they're sitting on 1 item the entire game, and they finish the game with 1 item because mythics are so expensive, and gold income just is irrelevant now. I think another thing we see a big problem with is the fact that like kind of at level 13, you're kind of required to build the new support item. You have to be able to place wards and like getting a 4th ward to be able to place and 2 control wards is just opposite. Like it's so required. Like it's $1,100, like $2,200 down the drain to be able to build that, which means that at this point in time, when you're level 13, you have 1 item, some components, and then a piece of support item that you have to build again. And then you genuinely don't have the tank stats. Tanks, obviously, just the reason that Leona's able to work is because she just has the W's and she can synergize so well with Sunfire, but a lot of supports just aren't working well because they don't have the passive income. I think theoretically, if items are similar now, I think teams can play early game snowball comps, be really good. I think 2020 spring do well, for example, if games are fast. I mean, I think that's one big problem is the fact that we have tanks coming online so early right now that mid-game scaling champs don't actually exist anymore. Like you have champions like Caitlyn doing pretty well in laning phase, and then Amumu comes with a Sunfire Cape and a Demonic Embrace, and you can no longer kill her, and he one-shots you. Like, literally the most lethal assassins in the game right now are Amumu and Rammus. They're just absolutely atrocious with the state of the game they're in. Last 91 minutes is jungle diff, and by the way, lethality Jhin is broken. I mean, it's the best ADC in the game, probably. Like, actually, if you can't build... Like, lethality items are good. Like, we got Eclipse, we got Duskblade, we got all this stuff that actually makes sense in the meta. And honestly, the tank item makes sense, but everything else in ADC is the only rule that got nerfed. Like the mythic items are pretty decent, but they only, again, the reduced AD ratios and the reduced crit percentages is such a drastic change, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't like the state of the game right now. I expect like AD ratios, crit percentage, something to change for ADCs, and I expect some sort of new way to generate gold for supports, because as it stands right now, they're in terrible shape. I've been playing mid LMP. I don't blame you. Like, there's literally no reason to play ADC right now. where the meta at Worlds is the same as in preseason. It's not. I'm not saying it's the state right now. I'm just saying as it stands right now, they need to make a drastic change. And that's like the fact is when Riot changes something in the preseason, it is going to be the polar opposite of what's happening right now. Tanks are going to be trash inside of the regular season. ADCs are literally going to be assassinating assassins. Like we're going to see all their stuff. The only ones that are in good shape right now, I like on-hit ADCs. I like that stuff. Like ADCs got nerfed and they were the weakest role in Season 10. Yeah, I mean, the strongest role is probably support, and they did nerf that. But at the same time, like they nerfed too much now, and now support can't take over, like really exist in the game anymore. Like mid is the best. Mid's always arguably one of the best roles. It's just always been the case. It's always going to be the case because that's just the wow. I want to be the cool guy who pops off of the game and carries, so I play mid, and that's just why they make it good. If it's how it is right now, there will be mages in the bot lane or ADCs that don't have to build ADC mythics. Like, and Samira's literally busted. Like, actually disgusting. Jhin is also pretty good. Jhin is good. Samira is good. I think that with the shift in AD ratios on crit items, I think that Kog'Maw is going to be pretty decent and Vayne's going to be busted. On-hit AD are trash, but skill-based ADCs are more viable. On-hit ADCs are not trash. I mean, I don't care about win rates or anything of that stuff. Essentially, when you get to 4 items, you essentially have 100% crit with over 480 like on hit. I don't remember exactly what it is. Every second to third auto attack. Plus you have a massive amount of attack speed. You have like again, all of these things synergize so well with each other. Like I don't agree with on hits being bad. I think that it's because it's literally in the center of the map, it has the most agency. No, that's also true. I mean that's why like these kind of players go into this thing. First of all, is because it's a shorter lane. On top of the fact you can roam around the map more effectively, so you can take over the game faster. That's why the more impressive players play inside of the mid lane. Users and Razeblade. That's what I'm saying. Razeblade is on hit. Like my friend wanted to play super cool the first time Cat my first and leave at 9 minutes. Yeah, that's always fun. I always love playing with my friend put on me like 6 times.
Why did Riot fucking put a win wall ability in an ADC? That's what I love.
The actual problem is the fact that they don't want to take out the additional on like a CC that Samira's able to get. She's able to follow up CC on ability. Like if you see somebody, she gets in like essentially a Kate trap.
I remember like we had a Samira against our game. We tried diving her. She used that win wall ability. Oh shit! Why was an ADC to the win wall ability?
The additional CC is not fun. Not a friend if they leave you in ranked. I mean, my friends leave me all the time in League. Like, it just happens. Like, every single one of my friend groups do that. It's just what happens. They just get so aggravated. They're like, you know what? I'm out of here. And they leave me. Or they, like, mute themselves in Discord after they flame. Because, like, honestly, the big thing about it is a lot of flamers, 100%, just kind of take just take it out on everybody else besides themselves because they can't accept fault, and that's one of the biggest problems. I mean, technically you can call them not friends. I think my big problem is that I can look at League, seeing it is the reason as to why they're acting like this, but they're they're fine outside of the game. Would you be for beginning? Agreed. And I don't know. Like I think there's a way to look at it, but I just look at it in a way of like maybe I don't play a League with them anymore, but I still like them as people, and they're still really interesting to talk to. So that's the reason I look at it that way. I don't know. Like, what specifically do you think the shift in the meta is going to be next year? Do you think, like, I don't know. I mean, I think that
depends because, like, I don't know. The factor in a lot of people. This happens a lot, like in a lot of preseasons. People always say this is going to be this, and this. The meta really does get defined by what the pros do. Like,
yeah, it is. I mean,
but that's like a lot of people keep saying tanks are bad, but they've never really pointed out why tanks are bad. Tanks are always going to be good competitively. Even when tanks were considered trash, people still play tanks though.
Yeah, right now, tanks are just actually disgusting, man. I don't know why. I'll be everyone's friend.
Rebecca, we know you're here for me. Let's just dispel that, you know.
Let's start doing this. Nice guys always finish last. Should have known. That's what it is, man. That would be crazy different than now. I mean, that's just what it is. The reason is they increase every single season. They introduce crazy new things inside of the system, and then they try and balance around it because they make the game interesting. But again, at the same time, there's so many different things that it's hard to balance them at the beginning without seeing a large number of people playing it to get some sort of demographic on what looks good and not. It's going to shift in League to Burst Assassins. Burst Assassins are literally already good, though. It's literally Assassins and tanks that are busted. They're going to nerf tanks. Literally the worst, jungler in, actually the worst win rate from my knowledge in Plat Plus is Rengar right now. I think Rengar has the worst out of every champion of the game. Twitch has a terrible one. Like I don't know what the meta is going to look like. It's really dependent on items because I think that the state, like the items themselves are fine. I just think that the ratios for the most part need to get nerfed a little bit. without Perkz. 2020 bold or not bold though? I don't know about that, man. I think that's pretty bold. I think that's a pretty bold statement to make.
I don't know. Perk's been saying it too. Perk said this is gonna be the best year NA's ever had. I'll see it when I believe it. That's what I'm saying. I don't care what happens in the offseason. I do. I'll obviously make content around it, but I gotta wait till I see it though. You know, this happens every year. Is this gonna be the year NA does really well? I'll see it. I'll see the world's results, and then I'll see how good it is. I mean, let's say Cloud9 wins MSI 2021. That's great. Let's see what the world's results actually are, because it's very easy to say all these moves work right now, but you know, let's be honest here. Even last year, no one would ever have predicted Double F to be off of Team Liquid, but you know, when teams start losing and dynamics start changing and teammates get mad at what other teammates are doing, rosters still might change though. You might see some changes coming into 2020, like the later half of summer. So
literally the most optimistic thing I've ever heard. CLG winning is less optimistic. I don't agree with that though. Like I don't 100% don't agree with that. I think that, like, again, when we look at it, the actual discrepancy between EU and NA is Fnatic and G2. I think that Team Liquid did okay against Fnatic. I think they look substantially better now. But like the rest of G2 and Rogue and Mad Lions didn't look good, and those were like sort of the top teams. I think that the discrepancy between NA, no one's going to be able to compete with G2 in my opinion, but I think that everybody else is going to compete with everybody else inside of the NA scene. I think NA can compete with EU in terms of everybody but G2 probably.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait till it starts though. There's so much hype around when NA starts though. But I'm just saying, be optimistic. I get the changes are good. The changes that NA are making right now for 2021 are like eye candy. And the eye candy is, oh, look at all these big players, all these rosters getting better. Let's see how the year plays out first. That's what you have to also think about, you know, because it's really easy to say all these moves are going to work out on paper, but we haven't seen any of these teams play yet. We haven't seen how they draft. We haven't seen how their coaches interact with them. We haven't seen their second draft phase. There's a lot of things. And even last year, a lot of people were saying, oh, yeah, well, TL will do so well. They're going to smurf on North America. That really didn't happen. But, you know, these are things you have to kind of just keep in the back of your head. I get it's really easy to be hyped up. I get it's really easy to love the moves, but just keep a fair assessment, you know. Can you tell me, did even a bigger caliber of player come to NA? I don't think so. I
mean, I think Bjorkson was pretty big when he came over.
We've had some pretty big names. We've had some big names.
Really about that.
Piglet was a really big one for the time period.
Yeah, I think that Piglet, we had Bjorkson when he came over. There's been a lot of
when Zane came over, that was pretty big.
Zane didn't look incredibly good when he came over, but I think there's a question whether or not it matters if there's been a bigger quality player, because again, it could not like I think he's definitely by far and away the biggest name that's came in pretty much all time. Like someone to know, he was pretty big from Ninjas in Pajamas. I mean, again, like I'm not gonna say that I know a lot about that, but again, he was still pretty decently an up and coming talent at that point in time. Yeah, I agree. He wasn't like the biggest name ever, but like
I think the biggest names would come down to Piglet, Huni, Rainover, Core JJ. Core JJ was really big.
He came over too, yeah.
Bang. Piglet. Yeah, we've had some pretty big names, but as Perkz with like the pedigree, I'd agree, no. We've had like Perkz's pedigree really just shit on all those people. But I really hope he does work out. I really hope it works out for them, you know. But it just depends, you know.
Promising.
It's questionable. Who do you think will have a better Dark Horse roster, 100 Thieves or FlyQuest?
FlyQuest obviously has again, they have a low side where they have a bunch of unproven talent, but at the same time they have a lot of upside, or so they have a lot of people, if they work out, like honestly, they have a lot of people that if they work out, they can 100% like be one of the best teams in the league. They could shoot up to top 4 because there's a lot of talent on this roster that we don't actually know the ceiling of yet.
So they're basically using Licorice as their test subject to see how good these new rookies are.
Yeah. Guys, if you want to climb play Aatrox, it's stupid, bro. I started banning the champion again and never saw him since the Ultner since season 9. What? I don't know, man. Piglet won Worlds with Faker and came to NA. That's quite insane. I mean, I think that's one of the bigger problem things.
That's what,
Piglet
yeah.
Dancing. One of the most disappointing like players of all time is the fact that they never actually built a team around Piglet, and that always frustrates me. They had one solid team, but at the same time, like it never amounted to anything. I think he was so talented, and it was so aggravating that it didn't work out.
The Golden Guardians roster right now, they have Stixay, the support from Latin America, and a Blaze Olive. That's so far. That's all they have right now.
Those are going to probably be people that either get shifted to the academy scene or they try and build a really up-and-coming young talent team, because that's really all they can do at this point. They really can't like build any like if they have these pieces, I wouldn't try and bring in like Wild Turtle or anything. But if it heals more than ever, even if you have heal reduction, I don't know, man. I don't think Gore Drinker is one of the most broken ones. The Blaze Olive is actually nutty. I mean, that's exactly what I've heard again. Like that's another thing.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. A Blaze Olive and Pal-Fox are really good, but remember when you're factoring in their peaks, or not their peaks, like their initial gameplay, they're playing up against Jensen, Perkz, Power of Evil. You know, even a Blaze Olive and Diamond have to go up against Damonte. Like it can a Blaze Olive and Pal-Fox be better than Damonte? And Damonte has the team and the synergy to come right out the gate and be stronger too. Opinion on Rogue's roster changes? I think getting Ottawamne is an upset. Who's the new guy? Tribe? Unproven. I can't really say. I didn't really watch a lot of his matches in the EU Master scene. They have Larson, right? They have Larson, who I think is like one of the best EU mid laners, and you also have Hansama. Yeah, they have a pretty good team. I could see this team being at least around 4th place. Oh, sorry, Inspire still their jungler, so.
I feel like they're finally doing NNA. I mean, the thing about it is, with the whole new system that's in line, you're going to start losing at the beginning of the season. If you start losing games, it's going to be a lot harder because it's an entire season now without summer. So these people are going to start building up rosters because, again, if they build these, if they don't give these rookies like the talent at the beginning of the half of the season, I feel like they're not going to really have the time to develop for the next season. That's what a lot of these people are doing at this point in time. Like, I don't know. You can have a really good start to the season, but I think that it's really not going to amount to anything because there's not a spring. So when these other teams start coming online, your beginning start's going to matter a little bit less. I think Inspired is really underrated. I think everybody rates him pretty highly. I'd never heard of anybody called Double Aim, by the way. 7th at best? For who? Rogue roster? I'm not talking about Rogue. Oh, Vitality. Vitality, sorry.
Dude, who's on Vitality's roster? Let me actually look right now. I'll see right now.
Vitality's roster is, let me see. I'm trying to remember. It's Sizenda Malika. That's the whole thing that we were talking about earlier.
Malik's the mid laner. I think Malik's decent. Are they still running comp? Because that's a problem. Comp sucks.
We believe in Malika. I mean, I guess we could. I mean, I'm not going to say anything besides that. I really don't know enough about Malika to really make an insightful thing on it.
I can only judge what I saw, and I saw very average gameplay, but he was on a 10th place team, so it's like, you know, it's kind of what you expect there.
Like, again, we get average. Like, at this point in time, I think that there's a lot of situations with the inability to be able to actually be pushed out of the league. I think you should actually start developing talent if your league starts falling apart, because we're going to see a lot of these teams start, like, they're going to kind of almost be off to, like, at the first 6 weeks or 5 weeks of the season, they're going to be like, there's almost no way we can make the playoffs, so let's just start throwing these rookies in. I think that's what I like about this. We're going to have a lot more time to develop these rookies if they start throwing them in midway through the season. I think it's time for Whippo to hard carry Fnatic. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's the best player on Fnatic, so it's going to be kind of hard.
Maybe if he lets Selfmade play through.
Like, I think that he's really kind of showing me a weird light about what he's doing right now. I think he really has a different opinion on how League should be played on Fnatic than what most of his roster does.
I really think Whippo is trying to be the leader of the team now that Rekkles is gone. He wants to take that leadership role. I don't know if Whippo can be the leader on Fnatic. It just depends, obviously. I mean, with
have a lot of talent development roster. I mean, no matter what you say, what person have you been most impressed by? You talking about Cody-san? I mean, Cody-san came into the league instantaneously pretty decent. I don't know if it was development or anything. You could say it is, but and then he went to Worlds, and honestly, it seems like there wasn't a lot of coaching because he actually completely fell apart mentally on that aspect of it. I mean, we could say a lot about the development scene, but they didn't develop Someday. They didn't develop a few other players. He can't be a leader. I think he'll be Hylissang. Hylissang should be the leader. Like their third team. What was their third? I don't even remember anymore. What was their third team?
They're who?
I don't know.
No, he's talking about 100 Thieves next with like Kenvi and their really good amateur team.
Are you talking about this year specifically about their amateur team? Okay.
Oh, but I mean, the problem with the 100 Thieves is like they didn't really develop those Golden Guardians players. That was done by Anero and all those other people though. So
Hylissang has big arms 2 times as 100 Thieves hoodies are fire. That's like that's what I'm gonna say. They have some really that's not the only thing going for them. They have a really talented roster. But I agree. I think their color scheme is absolutely amazing on that team.
100 Thieves has really good apparel. I wish every time I try to get a 100 Thieves jersey, it's always sold out. It's actually
I like how Team Liquid developed that IMT roster talent.
Oh my god.
I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at it, but I just think that one thing I want to say is a lot of people either put a little too much emphasis on rookie talent and they want to replace the whole roster if it's not going to get first place, or at least like if you start building talent, people can still start like kind of progressively get good after their first to second year. I mean, I think that people either tend to get up a little bit too easily, or they just don't want to put or they want to put in rookies instantaneously, or they just like honestly don't want to put them in fast enough. But either you guys, I actually peaked at Diamond 1. But
has 100 Thieves ever made Worlds? Yeah, they made it back in 2018. 2018, and they were pretty bad.
I'm not gonna challenge your 3,000 LP. You're a stud, Rebecca. Jesus.
Rebecca, oh my God. No, I always peek at Challenger. I usually get offers from LCS teams. I usually have a ton of people retweet my tweet, and then you know, usually I don't get a lot of offers. But this year, I actually had some offers.
Okay, you're gonna have to emphasize that you're being sarcastic, because I don't think you really had a sarcastic tone that time. I'm the next ADC for Fnatic.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they are one of the teams with stuff.
I'm not going to blame you for anything. I mean, there's obviously some sort of like merit to what you said. They've obviously had a lot of good rookies coming out of that team, so I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm going to say, is it something extremely impressive to the point where I would say they have one of the best in the league? Probably. But at the same time, I don't think this is something I wouldn't send them. Like if I had to pick a team out of like the Western scene, I wouldn't send them to there. Like I'd probably send them to Cloud9. They have one of the best ones, but there's obviously better. I'm mostly talking about Cody Sun, like honestly. I'm specifically talking about Cody Sun. I don't even know if he was on that team for the most part, so I assume that counts as them developing him.
Wait a minute, hold on, whoa. CLG, why would they grab Wild Turtle over Cody Sun? Because that, I don't know. I would probably grab Cody Sun or Wild Turtle though.
I don't know. I wouldn't really say anything about that. I don't really like either one of those ADCs, so I don't think you really do well.
Obviously, I think Cody Sun's the better one. You just choose Cody Sun.
I mean, Cody Sun shifts the team into a late game scaling, where so is like if like Wild Turtle makes it to the point where you can actually have an early game pop off thing, and you can be able to do something in the early game. If you scale the late game, the talent on the roster is going to make up the difference. You're not going to be able to win. Where so is if Wild Turtle pops off in the early game, you might be able to win through that and cheese a few wins out of that. Like Cody Sun is obviously not an optimal player on a bad team. CLG is counter logic. They look for imported freaking Finn. I don't understand that. Like I literally feel like you have to purposefully make a bad team to be able to import Finn. Yeah, Wild Turtle looked pretty decent this year. I just think that it's the same thing I said with Kronstadt. It's like he was a pretty decent ADC, but like, would you put him in the top 5? Actually, would I?
Does anybody believe in CLG? I think their roster's probably not going to make 10th. It's probably going to... Their max CLG could hit is middle of pack, like 6th, 7th place. Probably barely making playoffs. That's what I see, you know. I'm so glad you guys took Finn. No take backs. Okay, let's be honest here about Finn. What if Finn overperforms to expectation? He's like some licorice level top laner.
I'm just saying, if we take Finn, you guys have to take solo next year. That's kind of how this works out at this point.
Hey, what if CLG's academy team takes solo, and if Finn underperforms, they put in solo?
No shot. Finn does suck from recently. I think that his rookie year was promising, so I don't want to say like I'm going to give up completely on him, but I just don't expect much. Do you guys know that there's rumors that Uzi might come back because of his health issues are getting better? I'd love to see that. Uzi is still substantially one of the best ADCs in the world from when he quit. So it would be exciting to see him come back.
Wait a minute. If Jack could buy Perkz, what if Jack could buy Uzi?
He cannot buy Uzi.
Uzi cannot be bought.
If Alfari on Tank 2, the reason they were able to buy him is because they traded off Licorice and like some of the other more cost-heavy players on the team to be able to like make up the difference in salary. They literally made the difference in the like millions of dollars that they got rid of what's his name to be able to make the buyout for Perkz. Uzi priceless, bro. I don't know. I mean, the good thing about it is NA can offer more money because China has a salary cap now, so we can literally just offer more money than China can. Like we're the most in terms of just wealth inside of the scene. I think that NA is probably the highest now because
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like I don't know.
What team is it?
RNG.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh no. So like, if you guys have any more questions, let them have it. We're gonna go for about another 10 minutes, and then we'll head out of here. I think we covered pretty much everything, didn't we? Rekkles joining G2. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, just start throwing them. It could be about anything.
Do you all think Team Liquid is overvaluing Santorin? I think so. I actually think that if a meta that kind of shifts towards, like, if Dragon Stacking ever stops to be a thing, if they ever kind of want to say, hey, this is really stagnating the game, which it is, and we don't want every single comp to be shifting around being able to kind of stack dragons.
I think that Santorin doesn't offer Team Liquid's playstyle any upsides. Like, he offers the same thing as Broxah, except he's just a lot more consistent and better at playing around laners.
That's he picked it. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of people say that Chinese streaming services tend to over the top push numbers inside of China, so people actually like it gives more attention to the sponsorships. Again, there's a lot more leniency toward that. They want to get sponsors, so they actually just push the numbers on that specific aspect. Bro, help me. You asking the wrong man for girl.
Wait, Rebecca, why don't you give me your Twitter? Rebecca, why don't you follow me on Twitter? And we can do it though. You know, how about I just link my Twitter right here for all you guys to watch? You know,
can we just go back to League, man?
Wait. I am shameless plugging on my own platform, which I'm allowed to do.
Oh my god, man.
This is my Twitter. If you guys want to follow me, actually. Also, if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe.
You're such a sellout. He can't. He doesn't have the ability, and he doesn't even realize he's doing it.
But I don't know. It really just depends though. Really depends, honestly. Like Uzi coming back, it makes RNG better. Like Uzi, don't they have Betty right now? Oh god.
Betty wasn't bad. He's just not as good. I mean, I don't want this to just become a sweaty, like horny pack of men talking in chat at this point in time. So I don't want to keep doing this. Like, I think we should kind of, it's fun to make a joke every once in a while, but I think that we should kind of stop because it's just too over the top at some point. Do you think somebody like Jensen will stack up against Perkz? I mean, I think one of the good qualities is the fact that Jensen actually can, for the most part, stack up against what I would say is spring split performance Perkz. I think at the very least he stacks up moderately well. I think Perkz is still probably the better player, but since there's no Bjergsen, or is the league of still two dominant mids? No, we have Perkz, Jensen, and Power Evil as the top three. If Jukse plays, I think that if he's playing well, he can be another one that competes for that. Because again, if we look at it, even before he left for EU, he was competing for, like, he was actually doing extremely well against Caps in terms of just when he was on fire. And even in NA, he did that too. But I don't know how it's going to translate into recency. I think it was a victim of Venero's memeish tweets. That was going to Golden Guardians. Apparently, he's on Team SM Academy. I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of rumors circling around, and I don't really even pounce on it until I see Jacob Wolf say something. Like, once he says something, I think it's reasonable to say, "Wow, EU players haven't done super well in NA." I mean, Jensen's EU. I mean, we could look at
Niski.
He just also look at Niski. No, I mean,
Sven just won a split too. Sven just
he's not mid lane. No, he didn't say mid. You're right. Sven won. If we're looking at just purely EU players, we Santorin won. We can see a lot of players in EU actually did pretty well in like NA. It's about like how long they can survive on the NA scene is a little bit different. Because
didn't Broxah come over and smash like they predicted?
I don't know about that, but
I swear this man is brought up every single time Broxah did nothing.
It just upsets me that I mean, again, I love Broxah, and Broxah still. I think whose Caps competition is EU mids, Fevin and Larson. Like that's pretty much it.
Broxah was the best jungler NA's ever had, and Team Liquid wasted him, guys.
You think Huni's manager should be goated at this point? Huni is literally his own manager. What? Huni doesn't have a manager. He
This is what Huni did to get a spot on TSM. Huni was like, "Oh, what's up, Bjergsen? Yeah. I want to join your team." So Bjergsen and Huni went into a room. Nothing else happened beside that. This is what happened. Huni showed Bjergsen his Season 5 Fnatic highlights, and that's all he needed. Bjergsen was like, "I have to have the guy's my top laner."
I mean, he literally played against him, so I think he can look past that and be like, wow, this guy literally fed for the past 2 seasons. So I love Broxah. I mean, I think Corpses is just a little too deep, but again, I heard it was like a medical thing, so I'm not going to be upset about that. I guess one thing is just a little too deep for me. Broxah was Doa?
Like, I can guarantee Huni showed Bjergsen in Season 5 highlights and was like, guys, you gotta take me, please. Like, I can be at this level.
He looked really good, actually. I agree.
Humanoid looks really. They tried. TSM tried to get Humanoid, but Mad Lions just said no. I think the rumored was like $1 million for Humanoid.
Oh, I thought you were like Doa, like the announcer. I was like, why are you talking? What does that even mean? You're right. He was dead on arrival. No, Fevin was good last year. Fevin was pretty solid last year, and Larson is not as good as Caps, but he's still pretty solid. Like I think that it's unfair to say all this stuff. Larson is a bit Larson is not as good. Like, some people tried to say that he's one of the best mid laners inside of the Western scene, and I don't think that's the case.
He's one of the best mids in EU. I would say West right now. He has done nothing to prove himself.
Yeah, I don't. You don't have to prove yourself in my eyes. I just don't see I just don't see that he's that good right now. I think that it's going to take a little bit of time before he gets there. He still has the ability to, like, kind of you're not letting what go. What is not being let go? I don't know. Larson is really good, I think, but I mean, do you really expect him to be Caps? No one expects him to be Caps. He's just not ever going to be that good. Like, he's not going to be that good. He doesn't have that talent. And expecting somebody, being upset when somebody's not Caps is just going to disappoint you constantly. You're just not going to get too many of those. Like, you get Capses every once in a while. You get Perkses every once in a while. You get expected every once in a while. It's just realistically how it works.
If Fnatic make the finals against G2 in the 2021 Spring Split for the LEC, they should ban Zac so Blibble has no charge of playing that. That was horrifying to see. Man, straight up got solo killed like 4 times. That's insane, dude.
I mean, Abadagi wasn't the second best. Abadagi looked a lot better. I want to give credit. He wasn't the second best. I think I really liked the transition that Humanoid and not like Humanoid looked so much better towards the later half of the split. I'm just impressed by him for the most part.
And now he's going to have the best NA top laner, Broken Blade, coming over to Rek. Broken Blade will smurf.
For Broken Blade.
What if Broken Blade just smurfs on EU? That's not going to happen because he's on Schalke. But
I'm saying if Alfari couldn't smurf on EU, I don't expect Broken Blade to because they're really similar in playstyles. So
has Alfari really smurfed on EU?
That's what I'm saying. He didn't do it. 2021 G2 or 2021 C9. I think G2 is probably the better of the two. But
we'll have to see. I have to wait till I see him play.
Broken Blade is actually good, though. I mean, so is Alfari. I mean, I think that Broken Blade, there's debates whether or not he's actually going to be better or not.
Guys, believe me.
You guys are a little bit underselling it. I think Broken Blade is going to do fine in the EU if he has the right
Broken Blade has to play with the best jungler ever, Gilius. I mean, obviously, Gilius is the best jungler ever of all time. That's what he said on Twitter.
Play amazing, but they shove tanks in him. I mean, I guess it's a way to look at it. I mean,
Whipple can play everything though.
He can, but he doesn't play well constantly, and that's the big problem with Whipple. I'm like, it's not really the problem. Isn't the champs they give him? It's the champs that he plays. Like, it's the mindset he goes into the game with. Hey guys, I just woke up at. I'm assuming you're from like China or something. Like, it's 4 p.m. here, so Whipple is good. He is decent. Like, it's undeniable. It's just like consistency is the problem with him. I am a Fnatic fan. Everyone is good after they get off TSM. That is 100% true. Santorin became an actually decent jungler. We got
Svenskeren actually became like an MVP.
Santorin was good on TSM for a little bit too, to be fair. He has coin flips. I agree with that. That's the big thing. It's like a Mickey. We have a lot of players that are like that. Hylissang is coin flip too, but everybody still says he's one of the best supports inside of EU. Like,
I think Whipple is good. The problem is that Whipple is not consistently always playing at his high level. That's the problem, except on Zac. Oh my god.
Can we just say having a resurgence in Golden Guardians? I mean, I think one big problem was mismanagement of all the players inside of CLG. CLG's coaching staff is one of the worst I've ever seen inside of the EU scene. I mean, the NA scene. I think what's actually is just disappointing. Broken Blade is not going to smurf on EU.
Broken Blade, guys, you're to hear first. Broken Blade's going to smurf on these EU trash cans. Come on.
I did a stupid paper that I was supposed to be working on throughout the semester, but you know me, cram it all into. That's exactly how I used to do it back when I wasn't dropping out of college to be a plumber. Like, that's exactly how I used to do stuff.
I think that, like, Broken Blade, he has to play with Gilius, Abadage, and I don't know who their bot lane's going to be. They have limits. So, I don't know. They could be a dark horse team. Like,
they have Neon still, right?
I think he might be their AD carry. But, like, if Schalke could be a dark horse team, they could be. Oh, Schalke released Forgiven off of his contract a few days ago.
Wow. Well, that kind of just... I'm not sure what's going to go on towards there, then.
I'm just being honest. Like, guys, I'm being honest. Forgiven's never getting a good team after that. He's done.
Lane 8 times. I bet money on Broken Blade not winning lanes 8 times. Broken Blade is literally going to lane well. The problem is not laning. It's literally transitioning into a playstyle that doesn't actually support. Like, again, EU doesn't really support lane dominant top players.
Oh, Broken Blade versus Blippo rematch. Let's go. We're already hyping things up.
He should be done. Trust me, guys. The sky is the limit for players after TSM. He will smurf. You're like the anti-hype man. Every time somebody says something excited, he just comes in with like a no shot. You're trash, and then it just kind of hurts everybody's feelings. Everybody doesn't feel hyped anymore. because Travis Gafford reported a couple of tweets where Golden Guardians lineup being Niles, Ablazeall, Stixay, and Newbie. Is Newbie one?
Newbie is from Latin America. He was like the best support in Latin America.
There was a mid laner inside of the scouting grounds with a similar name to that, I think.
I don't, because like Golden Guardians roster, I think it might actually overperform. The problem with Golden Guardians roster is Stixay. I think Stixay is not that good. But
Stixay, again, I'm just gonna say maybe he was mismanaged. I don't expect it. He just played poorly, but like who knows? There might because everybody is saying, every single person I hear says Bwipo is this. I mean, not Bwipo. Sorry, Stixay is the single best in-house player I've ever seen. Like he always is the top of the ladder, and then he goes on the stage and underperforms. Maybe there's something not getting unlocked from him behind the scenes. Maybe there was just
with Smoothie.
Smoothie was good for a little bit, for like 2 seconds. Like at one point in time, he was good. He had it's like I don't know, like
narratives change so quick on players. Like they're so good in everyone's eyes for like a minute. They have like one bad split and they're just ready to give up on him. So much.
Literally had one good performance his entire career. It was a nice little chat in here. It's 1 a.m. for me. Tired. See you. Have a good night, man.
If you enjoyed what you saw here, then please subscribe. I'm pretty sure all you guys did, honestly.
Oh, wow. You're pretty sure.
If you guys enjoyed the content you saw here today, then just hit that big red button. It says subscribe. Whew. But I don't know. We pretty much covered everything. I think a lot of people got to understand. I wouldn't see when a player leaves it's like a trader thing. It's like it's going to happen regardless. It's going to happen regardless that a player leaves a team at some point. Whether or not it's the right decision or the wrong decision, it just happens, you know? Like, at a certain point, Rekkles was going to leave G2. At a certain point, Faker's going to not be on T1. Pearson was going to be on TSM. Tinky was going to be on Cloud9.
I don't know what you're trying to justify at this point.
No, I'm saying, like, at a certain point, it happens where a certain player is not going to be on a team.
Are you trying to say that what he did isn't essentially what he's doing is like saying if you join the army join the Olympics for a different country? It's essentially like they offer him a bunch of money and yeah, I can see why you did it, but you don't support this country or you don't support this team. And that's just what it is. And it's not his fault. It's nothing wrong with what he did. But Fnatic fans can see that and they're upset because, again, they're Fnatic fans and he's not a Fnatic supporter. There's nothing wrong with what he did. There's also nothing wrong with being upset with him. Like both of them are justified. It's not a big deal. That's how sports work. Anybody who's going over the top, being like, I'm just gonna go beat him up in the parking lot after his game, is a little bit over the top. It's like going for Barca to Real Madrid. You know what? I wish I watched soccer. I know enough about them to know that both of those are teams, but that's all I know.
It's like going from the Lakers to the Celtics after the Celtics beat you in the finals, the equivalent. No, but I mean, hey, like if you can't beat them, join them. Like this is how I would word this. Life is too short to be thinking about what other people think about you. So, like, if Rekkles wants to win, the only thing people will remember in years to come is what he won. So by him going to G2 and winning, that's the only thing people are going to matter. All this other shit people are talking about, it's not going to matter. The only thing people are going to remember is him winning.
To be fair, let's look at it like this. Let's look at that like this. A good comparison right now is KD going to Golden State Warriors right now. People actually value KD's rings less, even though he got them, because if you look at them, he got them on a team that had already won over about 70 games, went onto a team like that and made it unstoppable. Like, you can say whatever you want. Super teams' rings are valued less, and that's just how it works. That's just how things work. If you go to it, like, I think he doesn't have a better opportunity, and he wants to win Worlds, and that's just what it is. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing. I've been watching y'all for a long time, and sometimes when I want to search up your channel, because I forget the name, I don't. Yes, because he changed it. Like when I left the channel, he changed it to Way of Life. It's probably. I don't know if you were there for that, but I only see. Did you probably? It's. I don't
know. Like it just depends. Like I don't know. Like all of those things are like intangible things that you can't really like.
It's not really intangible.
No, but like when you're talking about those things specifically, those are things that are going to happen regardless of you leaving. Like what people are going to remember years to come in legacy is what you did to win. Like people calling him traitors and all stuff. That doesn't really matter though. What matters
are you trying to say that people don't actually think about this stuff in the future?
When he wins, that's all people are going to think about. Is
literally not. It's. I mean,
let me give you.
You can give me an example, but I've seen this.
Do people still bring up Caps leaving Fnatic after he won MSI and he's done really well? Not really. You see a little bit of people bring it up, but it's not.
I mean, a lot of people are still upset with him. It's not true, but
no, but no one really brings it up to the extent though. Like people forget all things that they win.
The reason that it's not that big a deal is because EU still hasn't won a World, so it's not like he's going onto a team that's already won Worlds and just winning another Worlds. It's just if you look at it in the scope of EU, he's going onto a team that's already dominating in EU and went on and made them even better. Like it's not unfair to say that people value super teams rings less. It's also not this like unfair to say that he wants to win. Like I think Fnatic could have won. I think that they just didn't have as good as like they all around had slightly worse players. But I think they had a better idea of how to play the game, in my opinion. I think that Fnatic just had that up on G2 last year. I think they could have won. I mean, I'm not a Fnatic fan. I'm not going to say that. Like, I'm not a Fnatic fan. I'm not a G2 fan. I really don't care, regardless.
Oh, well, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be amazing smacking you guys around in the finals 3-0 with our new AD carry Rekkles. But, you know, hey, it's all good. It's all good. You know, I love banter. I love having difference of opinions. I like having people, you know, challenge what I'm saying. These are always great things. We got about 2 minutes here. So you guys want to ask any more questions for about 2 minutes, then we're going to head out because I got to go. I need to do.
4:17 p.m. What a weirdo. What a freak. You don't have a scheduled time to end it. Specifically at 4:17 he's in.
We're going to hang out and go to the bars after this. What are you talking about?
IG is selling Ning. Saw it on Twitter just now. I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, I think that one of the weakest points was Ning because he's so inconsistent. It's not about selling him mostly, is the fact that they just need a new jungler in general.
He's literally just a Chinese blabber.
I wouldn't say that because he's actually good besides other things. Like when he's on, he's
Rebecca, I will bet you $10 USD you guys are getting smacked around the finals. You're probably getting smacked around the regular season. Let's be honest here. With Rekkles at our helm, we're going to take you out. Like, hey, it's always good being second place. You're still remembered. You're just not the winner. But how long is it going? We're going to go for about another 10 minutes. Actually.
No, he did not say that. He said, how long is your ding-dong? He didn't say how long are you doing.
About 9 inches.
Don't say that. Don't say
What do you mean? Yours is 9 inches too. Stop it.
No,
oh my God.
Stop. I don't know whose fan to be. You don't have to be anybody's fan, obviously. I think the one thing I like about League is the fact that it's genuinely enjoyable to just kind of go around and watch actually intensively fun games. And I was like, this team should win, so I want them to win.
Chinese
like if I think a team should win, I enjoy rooting for them. But I don't really support any team. I don't care about that stuff. I'm not really gonna put myself behind that, but like that's a good way to look at the league. Like honestly, there's no reason to specifically cheer for a specific team. But
I mean, I think it's so. Like if you like that org and you like the players they put on their team.
But Caps will join.
They do this, but they do this in traditional sports though. People like the orgs and they stay with them. That's just how.
I'm not saying it's not normal. I'm just saying you don't have to. TSM Huni is questionable. Everybody is literally questioned to his TSM Huni. Like it's just something you have to question. Jesus, man.
Oh my God. But
I don't know. Players do you like for no good reason. I've literally, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I have a big old fetish for Piglet. I've always, literally every single time somebody's trashed Piglet, I'm just completely, like I always argue with that. Piglet is one of my favorite players, and if he was on another team, I'd love it. Because I still think he's extremely talented.
Mine's is Jensen. I think a lot of people underestimate Jensen and a lot of things he's ever produced for his teams. And anytime someone's like, Jensen's not good, yeah, I gotta just.
Who's ever done that? He's literally normal people put him at top 2 constantly. I can't follow Rekkles
or Sneaky too. Like a lot of people like to downgrade Ray, but Sneaky always brought to Cloud9 because he had like a few bad splits, and it's like I'm not taking away his entire career because you like are just so blind with 2 bad splits of his gameplay. I don't do that. I look at the whole thing though, and I think that a lot of players, if you play for so long, you have outliers in your splits. You have that split where you do bad. Like, and I think people marginally overblew his last splits to the point where it's like. You know.
Hated on only because analysts compare him to. No one's hated on. Jensen's literally been considered a top 2 mid laner since he's came.
I'm talking about when it comes to like international play.
Because he's not as good as the international competition, and that's just a fact. It's not really underestimating. He's just not as good as Knight. Stay loyal to your team, Milos.
Hey, Rebecca said it, Milos. You gotta stay loyal.
Bro, Reddit is full of Jensen haters.
Right?
Reddit is full of every single human being on the planet. Because I only saw his career. He was good in NA. Literally, 2015 Piglet was the single best.
Tim, he's gonna go on an hour tangent. Oh no!
He was literally the single best ADC in the entire league. And then everybody's like, "Oh, you know what? He didn't win." And it was the reality is the fact that they didn't have a team. Literally, everybody fell apart around him. And then 2016, Dardoch literally threw a tantrum and just completely dumpstered the team. even though they had a lot of talent on the team, kind of trashed. I won't even accept that. I won't accept that as a statement because it's not true. It's literally never been true. Piglet was extremely good, even on Clutch Gaming. I think he was extreme. Like there were a few wins at the beginning of the season. He started out DPS'd everybody. He made a few bad plays, but for the most part, he was still the single best player on that team for quite some time. The only reason he won. Literally,
I told you, Sad Sin, he's gonna go on hours about this.
It's not hours. It's just like I hate when. No, that's fine.
No, like, okay, if I'm being honest here, some of the TL rosters he was on were really bad, like Rainover, Lorelo, Matt, Piglet, and Golden Glue. That's a pretty bad roster. It was crazy how people had them top 4. I was like, what the hell? So he's had bad rosters around him for Piglet. I just think that he played bad. He played bad that season. He played with Matt in season 7.
Okay, you know what? I will agree. I think that one of the biggest problems with Piglet is just how emotionally weak he is. That's always been his big thing. Loyalty, not your gender plus. What does that mean? I don't understand that. I don't get what that. I must have misunderstood that. But Piglet is kind of washed. Is just. I feel like you're doing it just to spite me. So I'm not gonna go off on that tangent. I don't believe you. I don't believe you actually think that. I think you're just joshing me or something. So I'm gonna leave that alone. But
yeah, imagine internet context.
I don't know how to read. Like, honestly, my eyes are filled with tears.
He's an actual old man.
My eyes are blurred with tears because he said that about Piglet, so I can't really see what he's
best 80 carry in North American history of all time, who's never made a final.
I'm gonna say right now, of course I like Piglet. I don't know if you're really serious.
He's trolling so hard.
Like she a girl? I don't know, man. I don't have any loyalty either. I'm not a girl. I don't think so.
Hey, like
I think one of the biggest problems. You don't though. But one of the biggest problems I have with that is the fact that I actually think Peak Piglet is one of the best ADCs of all time in NA. You got to find the good girls. I don't know.
Hey, I'm just saying. I always dated the girls that like getting tossed around during sex, but that's a different discussion, obviously. But
oh my god, you're a good girl. No, I'm a bad girl. Not a good girl.
He likes getting spanked, and that's what I do to him. I'm just kidding.
I think all around this. Why didn't Fnatic get crown shot? I mean, Fnatic didn't. Okay, let's look at it like this. Fnatic is essentially looking to be competing, and again, as good as crown shot is, he's still like 5th or 6th best ADC in the league. Not you, bro. I said me, bro. That's why I was going with that. I'm including myself in that conversation. Coming to the left side of the screen. There ain't no left side. There's nothing going on.
Don't listen to him, guys. There's a reason why he's mean to me. I call him Thorin outside of this. He's always mean.
I'm saying right now.
Be nice.
It's like when Freeze's little radar broke when he was trying to measure power levels. That's literally what you just did with the left side. You're not reading it properly. But Piglet didn't want to win NA, so was he really? He was so good. He didn't win NA because he literally
just season 5.
No, he wasn't. Oh my god, I'm actually just gonna have a stroke.
The season he had Golden Glue. The season he had Golden Glue with Laurel and Raider, where he was not that good.
I'm literally gonna drive to your house right now and fight you. Like I literally don't even live that far. I literally live 5 minutes away from you.
Guys, if he comes to my house, he's gonna bring a girl, and that's gonna be kind of scary.
Okay, that won't happen. I'm not bringing my mom with me over there. But
oh my god.
I think. But Piglet, like, it's Midlet over Piglet. I love that. I really liked mid Piglet. That one thing where he actually just dumpstered Jensen, that was the best game I've ever seen in my life. And never after that, what was that?
No, you're fine.
What happened?
Piglet is a god in
no, Doublelift actually when Prime Piglet was happening, Doublelift actually was like down like 300 gold in laning phase because he actually just got dumpstered by Piglet.
If we're talking just in the context of season, if we're talking
I'm not just talking.
5.
I'm context everything. He did in season 6 too until he got replaced. Like, hold on, he won NA so often. What are you doing, Timothy? Like, actually, it's not even Timothy. It's Timon.
Dude, okay, I'll be honest about Piglet. They got so close to beating CLG. If it wasn't for that double TP with the ward all the way back in like season, was it season 6? Was it season 6? Yeah, it was season 6 when freaking they double TP'd on that ward. He could have made the finals. He never made a finals. He's only played in like 3rd place matches, and he's lost the 3rd place matches too. No, he's won one of them. He's went 1-1 3rd place matches. Not
you, bro. Like CLG best team. What you talk about? I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because
they're not as bad as you'll. They're about a middle of the pack team. I would say they'll be a middle of the pack team.
I don't even know why I took that seriously. He was obviously joking, and I just like I'm so like just kind of emotionally strained right now. I just took that as like he was being serious with me. I know you were joking. I don't know why I thought that. retired after that Worlds performance. It is not a confirmed fact. He's actually considering it. It's what a lot of sources are saying. He's like, I don't want to be playing on this team because Huni's on it, is actually something somebody said earlier. So I don't know if it's a fact. Like, I don't know what's going on with this team, but I expect, like, it is an expectation for this team right now that this is actually what's going to be going on, is that Doublelift might retire and they're going to have to play around another ADC, which would leave them with one less. Like, they might have to import somebody. I don't know what ADC would they get at this point.
Who do you think they should get? Because Doublelift would have kind of screwed them in the offseason because FlyQuest have Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Dig,
he waited too late.
Lost went to EG. That's actually some bullshit. If he says I'm retiring, they got no one to choose from.
Everybody's already been picked up at this point. Can you guys explain to me how does Huni still have after what he did in Academy? Because he popped off inside of the playoffs.
I'll explain it again.
That's all it is.
He went into Bjergsen's apartment and he showed him his season 5 highlights. I guarantee you.
He looked good in seasons 5 through 7. Let's be real.
And 6. He showed him his season 6 Immortal highlights where they were just dominating North America for the 2016 spring split for the LCS. And after that, Bjergsen's like, I gotta have this guy. It's not like Bjergsen played with this guy literally this year, but you know.
What is that? I don't know. I think season 5 was the best season. I agree with that. Was my favorite season to watch too. I think there was a lot of excitement from every single region besides maybe NA, because NA was just actually terrible that season. Doublelift is not confirmed to do anything yet. It's still kind of
okay. Might as well bring it up then. Here, I'll go and show you guys right now because I know a lot of people are asking about that. Let me go ask you right now. This will be the last thing because I really do gotta.
Is there a deadline for roster pickings? I don't think so. I think roasters are on the table for the rest of the year.
Rebecca, what the?
No, I think that there's no deadline for, because again, there's a deadline later on towards the mid half of the season is when it's going to happen.
There's a deadline towards there's an imaginary deadline for picking up all the good free agents.
No. Again, what happens? I don't know if it's still the same in the beginning. What happens is towards the middle half of the season,
roster locks. It's roster locks, right?
It's essentially when this beginning, like middle half of the season starts. I don't know if it's going to happen. What's going to happen with this whole mega split? But they split it into where you can't pick up players anymore. I'm a girl. What do you think? I don't know. I'm not. You're just calling everybody out to be sexist right now. Just putting everybody on the spot.
Rebecca, I'll send for you. You know, I got you back.
I will literally fight you.
All right. Jacob Wolf says, sources, 2 separate deals between TSM and Evil Geniuses. One that would send Lost to Evil Geniuses and another for Huni to join TSM. Both agreed to verbally Monday night, maybe in jeopardy as TSM's roster is uncertain, particularly around Doublelift's future. Then he has a follow-up tweet. The flux come as TSM are struggling to nail down former Suning support Sword Art, who they were close to a deal with, but may fall apart due to immigration and payment issues per sources. Doublelift wants to play with a top foreign support and may not play otherwise. Follow-up tweet. That leaves both teams in an awkward spot. Evil Geniuses still have Huni, plus a verbal agreement with Impact, but no AD carry with limited North American and Oceanic options. Meanwhile, TSM may not have a top laner, no support, and may have to use Lost as their starting AD carry. Then, follow-up tweet, chance that both deals go ahead as originally agreed to shortly after the open of the league's free agency window on November 16th.
That really doesn't give us anything. That doesn't solve our problem. We still don't know what's going to happen. That just says there's some things in jeopardy. On top of the fact, I think that one big problem I have with that is that they're if I level, I do it myself. I'll be your Lulu if need. What are you talking? What is going on? So it's nice. Just honestly, I'm about to make an EU account, and I'll give you my Snapchat if you boost me to like silver, because I have really high pay.
I can give you guys my Snapchat. I post a lot of sexy pictures.
He does not. There. I think all around, I think one of the biggest problems I'm going to have with this is the fact that Doublelift actually waited too long to say that he wanted to not be a part of the next season, which is actually kind of goofy. I think that's one of the biggest problems I'm having with this right now is the fact that if you'd done it at the beginning of the season, they might have been able to grab Johnson or something. But now they're waiting until the later half of the season. It's like, what options do they have at this point? Or what options do they have at this point to be able to pick up, the pace?
They have no one to pick up. If let's say if he decides to take the first part of the 2020 season off, they got no one to pick up unless you're just at that point. You would have to potentially they said they would play Lost, but they don't have a support nor a top laner. They would have to play their academy top laners. They'd be playing Dolkla and their academy. No, they don't have a support because Treats went to SK Gaming. Doublelift. That's kind of not a good thing. That's actually a dick move. I agree with that. That's actually a dick move.
Boost who to very low? I don't know what's going on.
She's talking about you when she said you need someone to boost you in EU solo queue.
I have like 300 pings, so if you can get me out of bronze, I would be impressed. I would just actually make you a superstar in my mind. I think all around, I think that I'm just really upset with Doublelift at this point in time. Like, it was just the worst possible time to do it for. Like, TSM is not going to be able to develop a good team at this point because they just don't have like the player base. They just don't have wow. And I live in California, and EU is on the other side of the country. Like, it's far. I mean, I don't actually know what ping I have. I am actually going to make an EU account just to see, but I don't expect it to be good. But I think one big problem I have with this is like doing that. What options do they have? What they can't get lost. They can't.
No, they would get lost because the verbal deal would fall through. So they would have lost at ADC, but they would have no support and no top laner.
No, they were good in 2016, and I think that's one of the best Western teams of all time. As much as people don't want to say it because they didn't succeed, I still think that was an incredibly talented roster that just didn't pan out. It's another thing I want to say is that, like, honestly, people like to look at things in retrospect and see that success didn't actually pull off, and in reality, there was actually, when they were playing at peak performance, I think they were a really good team. Played bad at Worlds, DL. Yeah, Doublelift destroyed the team. I don't know. They all play terrible. I think there was not a leader in there to be kind of take hold of the conversation and keep them with a.
If you watch that TSM Legends episode, holy shit, that was a shit show on TSM. There was no way they weren't going to go 0-6.
That Cloud9 roster was just, honestly, I'm going to say it right now, I was not that impressed with them. I think that whole entire season was such a drastic change from the last one. Like the previous one, no one was ready for that shift in dynamic. EU adapts really fast. China has a really good like player base, so that was fine for them. But again, and they were already used to this kind of weird play style, but no one played the game the way it was played until they got into Worlds, and just no one was ready for it. I was not impressed with Cloud9. I didn't think they were that good. I don't like to go off results. I don't think they were better than Season 6 TSM. I still don't think that it was even close. Like, all around, I think that, like, there was the big like, Team Liquid got to MSI final. I'm still not, like, again, I'm not going to say that they were the best team out, like the team ever. I do think they had a lot of talent, and I think they had an extremely high ceiling that they sometimes reached. That's why, again, I'm saying I don't go based off Turner's results, because that's just a way to just use results as to justify what you're saying. Like, it's not wrong. It's 100% reasonable what you're saying, because if they can't perform on the stage, what's the point of saying that they're good because they didn't show it? And I don't disagree with that either. I'm just saying what I saw from what I experienced watching Cloud9, I mean TSM 2016, I was 100% impressed. But again, I don't really want to like rag on anybody. There's no reason to think that TSM is good if you didn't.
I mean, I would say best NA team ever. Like, you got to kind of factor in that TL roster. You got to factor in how big of an upset that actually was for Team Liquid. Like,
I'm not gonna say that it's unarguable the best TSM roster. I mean, NA roster. I just think it's very. They did achieve nothing, and it's a good reason. Like, honestly, you don't think of Charles Barkley as the best power forward of all time when he had a lot of talent because he didn't get any rings. That's really diminishes some people's things, and it's something is a really justifiable reason to say this guy's just not that good because he didn't do this. And I don't disagree with that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's not the way I look at stuff. It's specifically, I don't care. I just look at what they achieved during the season and their level of play, and then I leave. Want to bet on G2 winning Worlds? What do you want to bet? I'll make an EU account, so I'll buy you a skin if you want me to do that. I'll buy you whatever skin you want.
Guys, I love G2, but I'm being honest here. The expectations of them winning Worlds is not going to happen. I'm sorry to break it to you. It's not going to happen. See, this is what you're telling me if G2 would win Worlds. You're telling me that China and Korea would not produce a Worlds caliber team. That's what you're telling me. And China's got 3 slots, and China has 4 slots, and LCS got 3. I'll say this here. Dragon X looked really strong. If Dragon X didn't face Damwon, they probably might have made a pretty good run at Worlds. Who knows? I just don't think the expectations to win Worlds should be placed upon G2 without seeing games. Then you're also expecting China and LCK not to produce a Worlds class team. It's not going to happen. I mean, I'm just being honest here.
I mean, I think there's a honestly,
that doesn't count. That doesn't count for nothing.
You can't say that. It's not about whether or not the competition was hard. It's about the fact that no, it doesn't. It's about the fact that it was considered the first World Championship. It's really the only thing that matters.
You know what? Who won the very first World League series?
I mean, everybody. I don't. Why would I look that up? I don't know who won.
I'm just asking.
Off the top of my head, 12 years ago, I don't know who won, and everybody still considers that league. You're asking me some weird, crazy question.
No, I'm just saying. Who won the very first NBA championship ever?
Why would I know that?
No one cares. That's the point, though. No one cares. It doesn't count.
It does count. It just means that I don't know trivia off the top of my head because I'm not a nerd. I am a nerd, but I'm not that kind of nerd.
No. What I'm saying is that if you like, no one even considers winning those. Like, they just don't count. Like, it means nothing. Like, China didn't have a server, neither did Korea. They didn't play at the event.
Who won last? I mean, that's actually like it's a good way to think about it. Like, where do you make the cutoff at this point in time? Would you make it into the self-dictated?
Most people consider season 2 is when it started.
It seems like it's just
it wasn't even called the Summoners. It wasn't even called the Summoners Cup.
It doesn't matter. They consider it season 1 Worlds, and that's why it's season 11 now. And at this point in time, season 1 was when Fnatic played. Like, we can't just take it away because we don't think the competition was hard, because that's just how history works. They won a world championship, and regardless of whether or not...
But you know it wasn't hard. You could see it.
It doesn't matter if it wasn't hard. It doesn't matter if it was not as hard as now.
Do you know why it doesn't matter? Because if you can't replicate what you did before, then it doesn't matter, because you only did it once, and that's a fluke, essentially.
But it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, if I won world championships, and then I just never even won a game in my, like, a solo queue in my life, I still won a world championships. I still have the ring to prove it. That's just all that matters. It's like the Roman Empire. I love the Roman Empire. Don't even talk about it.
Hey, guys. That's just how I see things, you know. But
that's actually a good way to think about it. Look, actually, no, they straight up did have competition. They had to fight. Man, I can't remember anymore.
Good old TSM with Reginald.
The Punic Wars and all that stuff. They had a lot of competition, like the Roman Empire had. But let's not act like that. But at the same time, like I agree with you 100%. I think that it's not about the competition level. It's about the history, and that was later on. I agree. They didn't have competition on the Italian peninsula. That's fair enough. But I think that's a good way to look at it. I mean, it's 100%. I think it counts. But it's a world champion. If only half of the world plays, it doesn't count. I mean, that's also a decent way to look at it. I mean, it's trying to bounce that Buffstead. Trying to bounce.
No, Rebecca, what I'm saying is, like, that's the benefit of just playing first, though. That isn't really, like, okay, so if I went and I won Season 1 Worlds, that's the benefit of just being there first, though. That's not a benefit of, like, isn't really, it's hard to really say, though. Them winning Season 1 Worlds has had no merit ever. I mean, they've never been able to even replicate winning a world championship after that, because the competition has gotten so much better.
Why does that matter? Tell me why does that matter?
Winning... All right, so let's say you win one championship in your life, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why multiple championships are valued more, because you've done it.
I'm not saying it's not valued more. Everybody values the world championship the one the least.
But there's a reason why Faker's considered the best, because he's won 3. Yeah, he's replicated his success more than once, though. That's kind of why. But
I don't understand how that matters. Like, I don't understand how competition-wise...
TSM1, I wouldn't count it either. Fuck, I wouldn't count up TSM1 either.
I don't... Like, honestly, the reason that I don't think that Cloud9... Like, I didn't think that, like, Cloud9 was that good in 2018, but I don't take away their I don't take away their semifinal appearance. Like, it still counts. I just don't think the competition was that stiff that year, because they got into a pretty decent... Like, everybody was a because you murdered Rio. I mean... It is actually, like, honestly, without that play, a lot of people wouldn't actually... It's really what hypes...
No, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them past that one. That Syndra play he did.
I'm not trying to say it's not true. It's just, like, that's what people do. It's what people kind of hype themselves up. And honestly, I agree. I have the tendency to talk over people. I try not to. It's just how I've always done it, so... He doesn't call me out on it, which is why it gets bad. Like, he just kind of lets me talk over him, and then I get worse and worse, so...
No, it's fine, because we're going out to dinner after this, right?
I'm not going to dinner with you. Oh, do you need food?
I kind of want to get food after this, honestly.
Oh, great. I'll brace. That's fine.
Do you want a hug?
No. It's not about the level of competition. It doesn't count, because it's called World Champions, so you have to be beating the whole world. I don't know, man. I mean, I think... Literally, 2 of the best regions to ever win World Championships after them weren't even at the competition. That's why I said it's not that it doesn't count in the... It counts in the grand scheme of things because it counts towards history. What I'm talking about, it doesn't count in terms of an accolades, because you have the literal best 2 regions after that winning everything. So that's it's just a benefit of playing the game first. Like, I don't think that really matters in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it matters in terms of history. That's
you could argue with both. Yeah, it only matters towards history. That's kind of
history is what everybody. No one's saying that World 1 was as hard as Worlds 2. Like, no one ever says that. I don't think I've ever heard that argument. I don't think anybody's really tried to attempt to make that argument. What everybody's saying is the fact that if you look at World Championships, you still have to talk about, like, Season 1 Worlds. That's just what people do. Like, you just have to mention it.
Now, if you guys start saying Fnatic should have won 2018 Worlds, then we got a problem there, because that's just crazy. But that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for all being here. Like every video, put out so after the off season's over, so I'm gonna make a few announcements before we leave. So don't leave yet. So after the offseason is over, I'll have more individual content based around like the teams and the rosters and what I think personally. You'll have like C9, a dedicated C9 video, G2 Fnatic video. That's kind of what my offseason content is, because I know after the offseason is over, there's going to be like a dry period where like people aren't going to be putting stuff out. I already have what I'm going to put out. The C9 Fancast and Rift Insight should be still able to continue. You have the power rankings we could do. We could talk about periods in League's history where we have like we could have a full discussion on like Worlds 2014 when we started, Worlds 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You know, those are things that I am talking about right now. So yeah, those are my off-season plans, and that's kind of it. Do you have any things you want to say before we head out?
He said, "How you about to call yourself a championship when you did it?" And I live in my mom's basement, and my mom still calls me a champion. So what about that? Lone Milo EU is me. If you want to add me and lose LP.
My man Sadson, thank you. Like he's got a basement, little basement. Does that count? Like,
oh yeah, baby. All right.
That's pretty much it. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. Thank you to everyone who's been here. Shout outs to Milo, Sadson, Story, Rebecca, Tim. You guys have been here all the time. Who else was here? No, you guys have been consistently here. Sadson, Stories, Rebecca, Milo, and Tim. You guys have been here all the whole time. Holy shit. Yeah.
All right, man.
Peace out, guys.
It was fun as heck.
Sign out. Peace.